Yo legends! Welcome back to the channel. Grab your headphones and lock in, because today's story is on another level. Want the next chapter? Drop a comment below, and if the legend continues, I'm bringing it straight to you. Disclaimer: I do not claim ownership of this story. All rights belong to the original creators. Note: I'm constantly tweaking the settings to make it as immersive as possible. One Pace, the Navy's 8-year-old tech maniac. Page 21. But why, facing these people in front of him, even that little brat whose fighting power was almost zero, he was not hurt at all? Are the strength of those robots really so terrifying? For the first time in his life, apart from the young Whitebeard, Blackbeard felt a strong sense of fear rising in his heart. This war machine is truly terrifying. Each of them has incredible combat power. Furthermore, they possess various strange abilities that could completely replace the 7 warlords of the CYY. Even my dark acupuncture points can you resist? You have obviously been swallowed, Blackbeard said with blood at the corner of his mouth and a look of panic on his face. Xia Yu explained in a baby voice. It's a move I've researched. It's a combined defense, combining the defenses of 10 Seraphim. Unless you possess the offensive power of rocks, no one can possibly break through their defenses. After hearing this answer, Blackbeard finally understood. But I still feel unwilling to accept it. Come to think of it, the one who really defeated me was this 8-year-old kid with a baby voice in front of me. He had been enduring for so many years, determined to find the One Piece and become the Pirate King. But it was ended by a little brat. However, now I have no strength left and my body has been severely injured. Blackbeard knew that this time, he was really going to die here. Hateful. Unwilling to give up, Blackbeard pounded the ground in front of him and said viciously. And Xia Yu no longer hesitated, as he was waiting for the reward from the cosmic tree. Whoosh! The next moment, Hawkeye Seraph suddenly activated his shaving again, and in an instant, he broke in front of Blackbeard. With the powerful inertia generated by the shaving, Mihawk Seraph slashed with his sword. A strange arc appeared in the air and struck Blackbeard's neck heavily. The powerful slashing wave, and Blackbeard's vision, continued to expand, until finally it directly occupied Blackbeard's entire pupil. People's dreams will never end, Blackbeard roared loudly. PFFT, a blood mark appeared, and Blackbeard's entire head flew out directly. It was lying on the grass on the ground, rolling over and over, leaving a trail of blood. Finally, the entire head finally stopped moving. From the top of the head, one could still see Blackbeard. The head was wide open, and it looked extremely miserable. What dreams are there? They are nothing but selfish desires. That's your own dream. For your dream, you even betrayed your own pirate group. A guy like you, Blackbeard, deserves to die. Vice Admiral Mole said in a deep voice. When Ace saw Blackbeard's head, he was completely stunned. Even Ace widened his eyes and stood there completely stunned. Blackbeard is actually dead. That's the one I've always wanted to kill. As a result, his arrogance led to his defeat by Blackbeard. It was from the moment of failure that Ace finally understood that Blackbeard had actually been hiding his strength all along. I really didn't expect that such a treacherous Blackbeard would be so vulnerable in front of these robots. It can be said that he was completely hung up and beaten, and in the end, his entire head was chopped off. Looking at these Seraphim near him, and then looking at the harmless kid Xia Yu in front of him, Ace couldn't help but feel a tingling sensation on his scalp. The Xia Yu in front of us may be able to change the whole world in the future. It can even be said that whoever gets Xia Yu will get the world, and it is not an exaggeration at all. Why wasn't such a terrifying technology maniac recruited by his dad? Ace couldn't help but sigh. With this little brat Xia Yu around, I'm afraid that pirates will have a hard time in the future world, and this naturally includes his father Whitebeard. Dr. Xia Yu, I suggest that all those others be eliminated. Vice Admiral Mole said with narrowed eyes. In this world, no matter it is the Navy or pirates, traitors are not tolerated. The Mole naturally despises Blackbeard, a despicable guy who betrayed his father. Xia Yu nodded. I clearly killed Blackbeard. but the system's reward did not appear. That means that Blackbeard is not dead yet as expected. Does this guy Blackbeard have any special secrets in his body? Chapter 24. Obtain the reward, the cosmic tree. However, Xia Yu is not interested in Blackbeard's secret at all. The only thing that interests me is the reward that the system will give me after killing Blackbeard. The next moment, at Xia Yu's instruction, the Seraphim all moved out. Gather all the members of the Blackbeard pirates together. Xia Yu and others directly opened up a distance of hundreds of meters. Go ahead, Seraphim. Xia Yu then ordered. The next moment, 10 Seraphim came out together. The giant magma dog, domineering slash, laser beam, sand slash, silk finger gun, and various devil fruit abilities were all blasted towards Blackbeard and his gang in front of them. Rumble! Rumble! The entire Bana island began to tremble violently, and bursts of smoke formed a mushroom cloud that rose straight into the sky at Blackbeard's location. A huge hole appeared on the entire ground due to the explosion, and a large amount of seawater poured directly into the hole at the same time. Xia Yu finally remembered the pleasant reminder sound in his mind. Ding dong! Lead your Seraph to kill Blackbeard successfully and you will be rewarded with the cosmic tree. A small sapling appeared in Xia Yu's system space. Xia Yu sighed slightly. Is this the tree of the universe? It seems that there is no obvious difference from other trees. As the saplings gradually mature, they will produce fruit at an increasingly faster rate. At this moment, on the tree of the universe, there is a half-ripe fruit. At first glance, you can feel that it can also reflect white light. Xia Yu tried to detect what kind of ability it was, but ended in failure. It seems that we have to wait until it matures before we can detect it. Xia Yu sighed in his heart. Well, this kind of heaven-defying thing can't be rushed. Just wait for it to mature. After doing all this, Xia Yu, Vice Admiral Mole, and others returned directly to the warship. Mission accomplished. Time to go home. Once I return to the Marine headquarters, I will be able to produce an Admiral-level Seraphim. Xia Yu licked her lips, looking excited. At the same time, the entire ocean was in uproar because of the Seraphim that Xia Yu was studying. Not long after Xia Yu left the Navy, the warring states abolished the 7 Warlords of the Sea system. At the same time, they issued a temporary suppression order against all the 7 Warlords of the Sea. At this time, the Navy's encirclement of the 7 Warlords of the Sea had already begun when Xia Yu was fighting with Blackbeard. Devil's Triangle area. What? You're saying there's a powerful robot in the Navy, one that's superior to the pacifists? Moonlight Moriah said in surprise. But then, Moriah showed a disdainful smile. Haha. They're just some robots. Don't worry about that. Your main task now is to quickly find the body of the powerful man. With them, my shadow army can also defeat the pacifists. Chatter. Then, Moriah hung up the phone. At this time, a huge warship appeared in their own delta area. Page 22. Moonlight Moriah narrowed his eyes slightly. Isn't this the Navy? You came to my Devil's Delta without even telling me in advance. Don't you know that I am one of the 7 Warlords of the Sea? Gecko Moriah said angrily. On the naval ship, Bastiu, wearing an iron mask, walked down from the ship step by step. Behind him were the 2 Seraphim, Moria and Ursa. Seeing the 2 children behind him, Moria was confused. It was strange. What did it mean that Bastiu suddenly came to visit and brought 2 children with him? Could it be that when I was collecting shadows before, I harvested the shadows of Bastiu's 2 relatives' children? But that's not right. Each of them has a shadow. Hey, Bastiu, I'm one of the 7 Warlords of the Sea. What do you mean by trespassing into my territory without permission? Gecko Moriah said coldly. The pirates behind him also started shouting. If it were any other navy, they might have considered it. But Moria didn't take Bastiu seriously at all. Seeing Moria's disdainful attitude, Bastiu narrowed his eyes slightly under the mask. It seems that the 7 Warlords of the Sea system should indeed be abolished. You are enjoying the rights and benefits given to you by our navy. Is this how you treat our navy? Bastiu pondered for a while. Then, Yu opened his voice and gave his orders directly. Seraph Moriah, Seraph Bear, listen to my orders. Destroy the Devil's Delta and arrest Moria. Moria, I now officially declare that the 7 Warlords of the Sea System has been abolished. What? Moriah couldn't believe his ears. What's going on? Why was the 7 Warlords of the Sea System suddenly abolished? Besides, who are the 2 little ghosts behind Yu? Everyone has flames and wings on their bodies. It looks so weird. One of the little kids actually looks very similar to me when I was a kid. Correct. Just now my intelligence officer told me that the Navy has developed the latest war machine, the Seraph. Isn't that what Yu called them just now, Seraphim? It actually looks like a child. Moriah widened his eyes with a look of shock. However, Moonlight Moriah didn't have time to think too much. The next moment, Seraph Moriah and Seraph Bear rushed directly towards Moriah's lair. Chapter 25. The world changes quietly. The Navy encircles the 7 Warlords of the Sea Tata Tau. The 2 of them were one on the left and one on the right, and their speed was extremely fast. Looking at the 2 people rushing towards him, Moria was surprised and also showed an angry expression. Do you really think that just 2 robots can destroy my Devil's Triangle? Navy, are you dreaming? Men, since the Navy doesn't want to cooperate, then forget it. Destroy all the enemies on this warship. Moonlight Moriah roared loudly. After hearing what Gecko Moriah said, all the pirates took out their weapons one after another, full of murderous intent. Kill them all, kill them all. Yes, I will make sure you never come back. Damn the Navy, they don't know how to lift themselves up. The sky is high and the earth is thick. Lord Moria, let them see your zombie army. The pirates rushed over one by one, shouting. But the next moment, waves of light suddenly shot out from the mouths of the 2 Seraphim. When these light waves fell to the ground, they made a series of muffled sounds. Rumble, rumble, exclamation. The entire Devil's Triangle was filled with explosions from time to time, and the entire land was shaking from time to time. Seeing such a scene, Moonlight Moriah widened his eyes and showed a confused expression on the spot. Isn't this Kizaru's ability? These machines are indeed quite capable, but you don't really think you can defeat me like this, do you? Zombie army. The next moment, Moonlight Moriah waved his hand and zombie soldiers appeared on the ground. One by one, they howled and rushed towards the Seraphim. Seeing this scene, Seraphim Moriah also used his own ability and performed the same action as Moriah. Next moment, half of the zombies summoned by Moria were actually turned on the spot. The 2 zombies started to bite each other in the same place. At this moment, the pirates of the Moonlight Pirates were completely dumbfounded. They all widened their eyes with an expression of disbelief written all over their faces. This isn't Lord Moria's ability? Why does that kid also have it? Is this the latest robot developed by the Navy? It's so terrifying, it can even use devil fruit abilities. If it's true, how should we fight this battle? Moonlight Moriah was completely confused. The corners of his mouth twitched and his voice began to tremble as he spoke. Damn it, why do these little brats have my abilities? Gecko Moriah was completely dumbfounded. This was the ability he was most proud of. He was hoping to dig up more corpses, regroup, and deal with Kaido. Unexpectedly, one day, a robot actually possessed its own abilities. This makes my devil fruit ability seem so cheap. At this moment, Moonlight Moriah was in a very bad mood. This was the angriest day he had ever been since the Straw Hat Pirates defeated him. Since you, this damned machine, possess my abilities, I'll start with you, Shadow Horn Gun. Moonlight Moriah roared with a ferocious look on his face. A large number of shadows gathered at Moriah's feet, and then these shadows transformed into a huge spear and blasted towards the Seraphim Moriah. The huge black gun pierced through the entire sky and earth and blasted towards the Seraphim Moriah. The Seraph Moriah sensed the huge shadow horn gun and placed his hands on his chest. A dark-armed color aura instantly spread to Moriah, and his entire arm boomed. The powerful shadow horn gun hit the arm of Seraphim Moriah, making a loud noise. A large amount of sparks appeared at this moment. However, the Seraphim Moria only paused for a moment before rushing towards Moria again, and Moria opened his mouth wide. What? My shadow horn gun is useless. This machine actually knows how to be domineering. Moria's mouth twitched and he said in disbelief. A robot, it's just a machine, made of copper or iron, how could it be so domineering? For the first time, Moria felt the terrifying power of technology. It was also at this moment that Moria finally realized the seriousness of the problem. If I keep fighting, I'll die on the battlefield. The pirates of the Moonlight Pirates cried out in surprise. Okay. That's strange. Where did the bear go? In the blink of an eye, the pirates saw the chubby kid who was in front of them suddenly disappear. Ta-ta-ta. There were continuous explosions in the air, and the sound of feet stepping on the air. That's right, Seraph Bear, during the battle, directly used his own Navy 6 styles, shave. In an instant, it moved to another place over there. What a fast speed. He rushed towards Lord Moria. Page 23. Wait, that's Bear Paw Blaster. Be careful, Lord Moria. The pirates around roared. However, what awaited them was a barrage of lasers. Rumble under the bombardment of various lasers, the pirates were blown to pieces on the spot. The next moment, the Seraph Bear was already approaching Moria, 100 meters away. A huge bear paw appeared from the sky, and then it slammed heavily at Moria. Looking at the bear paw shockwave in front of him, which was getting bigger and bigger, Moria felt a chill on his back. If Seraphim Moria possessed all my devil fruit powers, this Seraph Bear may also possess the full power of the original devil fruit. If that happens, I definitely won't be able to stop it. Moria is still afraid of the tyrant bear, that taciturn but extremely terrifying guy. The next moment, Moonlight Moria did not dare to be careless at all, and the armament domineering on his body enveloped his entire body. Boom! Exclamation. The huge bear paw shockwave hit Moonlight Moria's body in an instant. The armament color on Moria's body was shattered in an instant. PFFD. A large amount of blood spurted out of Moria's mouth. The intense pain from the bear's paw made Moria lie on the ground and roar loudly. Ah, it hurts so much. Chapter 26. Mihawk, 2 children, want to defeat me. Moonlight Moria was above the ground, grabbing something and shouting. And at this moment, Seraphim Moria suddenly rushed in front of Seraphim Bear. The two of them used their own devil fruit abilities again. In the sky, a huge shadow gun and a huge bear paw appeared again. Moria's pupils constricted and he was terrified to the extreme. Who is it? That horrible guy created such a terrifying war-killing machine. If that happens, even I will die. While he was thinking, 2 terrifying attacks came directly at him. Boom! The entire Devil's Triangle was shaken violently again. A large number of Navy, led by 2 Seraphim, rushed in. The entire Devil's Triangle was filled with the miserable screams of pirates. Bastu rushed to Moria's previous position and narrowed his eyes slightly. Using special abilities, did you escape? I have to say, Moria's shadow ability is really useful, but it doesn't matter. The Navy's goal has been achieved. Seraph Kuma, Seraph Moria, destroy the entire Devil's Triangle. Kill all the pirates here without a single one left alive. On the other side, Moria finally used his ability to reach a safe area. Unwilling to give up, he called his intelligence agent again. Tell me, were those robots made by that bastard Vegapunk? I will definitely keep this account. Moonlight Moria gritted his teeth and roared angrily, with blood flowing from the corners of his mouth. When the voice on the other end of the phone came in, Moria's previous angry expression was no longer there, and was replaced by deep suspicion. You, what did you say? 8-year-old kid, Xia Yu? An 8-year-old kid, able to develop such a powerful war machine? Are you sure you're not kidding me? You mean, Moria, was defeated by a weapon researched by a little brat? Moonlight Moria's lips trembled, and his forehead was full of black lines. Lord Moria, this matter is absolutely true. Although I don't know the secret data of these killing weapons, their devil fruit abilities, and their combat effectiveness. But the one who created them was 8-year-old Dr. Xia Yu. This is a well-known fact in the Navy. After hearing the answer, Moriah hung up the phone, his lips twitching for a while, and then he was completely stunned and silent for a long time. Grand Line, above Krakana Island. 2 days ago, a middle-aged man with eagle-like sharp eyes, wearing a black top hat and a burgundy shirt, sat upright with a blank expression and spoke coldly. "They're just some war machines. There's no need to worry. Shanks, you've become more and more cautious since you lost your arm." Then Mihawk hung up the den mushy. "They are just some machines. It is not certain whether they can defeat the human imitators on their own island. How could they possibly pose a threat to themselves?" Hawkeye Mihawk raised the corners of his mouth slightly in a cold smile. Corona, who was flying in the sky beside him, also curled her red lips. "Come to think of it, Mihawk is quite boring, though. But when it comes to combat power, he's truly exceptionally strong. A mere robot can't possibly defeat a guy like Mihawk." Humph. Then, seeing Mihawk ignoring her, Perona returned to her room. However, just 2 days later, Mihawk suddenly stopped tasting the red wine and a look of surprise appeared on his face. "No way in the Navy. Is there really someone so arrogant that he thinks he can trespass into the territory of the world's greatest swordsman?" Then Mihawk, without any hesitation, took out the supreme sword in his hand and walked out. 10 minutes later, in the forest, Mihawk and the Marines finally met. He saw the corpses of human imitators all over the ground, and then looked at the approaching Vice Admiral Huashiashin. Mihawk's eyes showed a malicious look. Emir Huashiashin dared to do such a thing in their own territory. Have the Navy really forgotten that before becoming a Shichibukai, I was a Navy hunter? If you do this without giving me an explanation, I'm afraid you'll all die here, Mihawk said coldly in a threatening tone. A terrifying fighting spirit emanated from Mihawk's body. However, surprisingly, in the face of Hawkeye Mihawk's questioning, Huashiashin calmly smoked one of his cigars and did not reveal too much fear. A puff of smoke came out, setting the mountain on fire, and he looked very proud. "This is the right to use 2 Seraphim that I had fought so hard to obtain. If it weren't for this extraordinary period of annihilating the 7 warlords of the sea, how could I have the blessing to lead the Seraphs? Mihawk, I'm following Sengoku's orders to lead the Seraphs to destroy you. The 7 warlords of the sea system has completely lost its necessity to exist," Huashiashin said proudly. Mihawk was slightly surprised when he heard what Vice Admiral Huashiashin said. "Seraph, isn't that what Red Hair told me before?" Then, 2 children walked out directly from behind the burning mountain. Each of them had a blank expression, with black wings spread out and flames on their bodies. Needless to say, these 2 children must be the so-called Seraphim that Red Hair mentioned before. One of them actually looks very similar to me, and might even possess some of my swordsmanship, but can 2 child machines really defeat me? Hawkeye Mihawk is skeptical about this. "Lieutenant General Huashiashin, you don't really think that 2 child machines can defeat me, do you? Have you ever thought about what will happen to you?" Mihawk said threateningly again. Chapter 27. Mihawk, has Xia Yu's head mutated? After hearing Mihawk's words, Huashiashin's face showed displeasure. "In fact, I also dislike the 7 warlords system. These 7 warlords are spoiled, and the Navy officers below the Admiral have no respect at all." At that time, Huashiashin spat out the cigar in his mouth with a look of anger on his face. "Don't be complacent, Mihawk. This is the masterpiece of Xia Yu, a great scientist who only appears once in 1,000 years in our Navy. 2 are more than enough to deal with you. Seraph Hawkeye, Seraph Kizaru, come on." Mihawk's mouth twitched slightly. "Then let me see. Can the machine created by your so-called once-in-a-millennium genius last a few moves against me?" Mihawk said disdainfully. Page 24. "It's just right. I haven't fought for so long, I can give myself some exercise." Following the order to set the mountain on fire, 2 Seraphim who looked like children came out together. Whizzing, the 2 figures were moving at an extremely fast speed. Laser beams one after another attacked first. Kizaru's ability. Mihawk's expression remained grim. With his strong observation haki, he dodged all the laser beams with his nimble steps. Just when Mihawk was feeling proud, a fierce slash suddenly appeared in his sight. The powerful slashing wave, covering the sky and the sun, was blocked in front of Mihawk in an instant. Feeling the powerful sword intent, Mihawk was slightly surprised. The supreme sword in his hand, the Black Blade Knight, was covered with armor in the color of armed forces, and he slashed towards the slashing wave. Boom! Two terrifying slashing waves suddenly collided in front of Mihawk, and the powerful aftermath rushed in all directions. A large number of trees were cut down directly at this moment. At this time, Perona, who was in the castle, also felt something was wrong. Mihawk, is everything going to be all right? Then, he flew over quickly. On the battlefield after taking a slash from Seraphim Hawkeye, Mihawk's expression turned serious again. This slashing wave, the level is definitely not low at the very least. It can only be performed by a famous swordsman now. It has been learned by a robot that looks similar to me. A swordsman has practiced for decades, and you, a robot, can learn it right away. How can you do that? The Seraph Kizaru on the side was also not idle. After seeing Mihawk use the black sword to block the slash of Seraph Hawkeye, Kizaru swung the Murakumo sword in his own hand at Mihawk. Mihawk frowned slightly. Again? This time, it's Kizaru's power as expected. These robots possess the abilities of the characters they resemble. At that moment, Mihawk quickly drew his sword, and the dazzling light wave was instantly blocked by Mihawk. The Seraphim worked together very well. Without waiting for Mihawk to attack, the two of them launched their own attacks again. Above the sky, two slashing waves merged directly into one. He attacked Mihawk again. Under the two waves of fused power, the speed of the slash, both in terms of speed and attack power, has reached the extreme. A yellow light shines between heaven and earth. Facing the fusion attack of the Seraphim, even Hawkeye Mihawk's pupils tightened and he revealed a look of shock. Through my observation haki, this combined slashing wave is quite powerful. Mihawk didn't dare to be careless and drew out the black knife in his hand. His eagle-like eyes were extremely serious, and he immediately unleashed his strongest attack, striking hard. At this moment, the sword energy between heaven and earth was gathered by Mihawk, and it slashed towards the yellow in front of him and blasted it. Boom! Accompanied by bursts of roars, two waves of slashing, one black and one yellow, rose and fell in the sky. The two terrifying slashes were deadlocked for only a moment, and then the yellow slash wave took the upper hand and hit Mihawk's black sword Yi. Under the powerful force, Mihawk only felt his body shaking and his arms numb. Under the powerful force, he retreated dozens of steps before stopping. Mihawk, who was always calm and cool, finally couldn't hold back, and an expression of great surprise appeared on his face. Is this really a robot that humans can create? The combined slashing wave formed by the two robots is even more powerful than their strongest attack. Isn't this a bit too outrageous? Red-haired Shanks, you told me to be careful before, but it seems I was too arrogant at this time. Mihawk realized how arrogant he was. At this time, Xia Yu, who was watching the battle, once again showed a smug expression. Ha ha ha. Mihawk, this time I wonder if you can still be as arrogant as before? Did you think this was just a children's machine? Do you still dare to underestimate the invention of our doctor? See you? Xia relit a cigar with an excited look on his face. When the other sailors saw this scene, they also showed expectant expressions. These two Seraphim are so terrifying even the world's greatest swordsman can be suppressed. What's scary isn't the Seraph, it's Xia Yu's brain. I really can't understand how an 8-year-old child can have such high intelligence. It's okay if you can't figure it out. If you can figure it out, I'm afraid you'll be the Navy's once-in-a-millennium scientist, haha. In sharp contrast to Mihawk's serious expression, the sailors at this moment all looked relaxed and contented, turning directly into spectators, admiring the battle in front of them. Mihawk couldn't help but twitch the corners of his mouth. I am the world's greatest swordsman. How could I have ever been insulted like this if the two little robots in front of him were not so terrifying? Would he, the world's greatest swordsman, Hawkeye Mihawk, suffer such humiliation? No, the robots can't be blamed. They are just machines after all. If anyone is to blame, it's that guy named Xia Yu. This brain must have mutated. Otherwise, how could it be possible that the robot it created could even imitate my slashing attacks? Chapter 28 Perona, 8 years old, so powerful. Just when Hawkeye Mihawk was speechless, Perona also came near Mihawk at this time. I just happened to see the scene where Mihawk was fighting against the two Seraphim. The whole person was really dumbfounded, her red lips slightly pouting, her eyes filled with shock. That's Mihawk. Those two brats actually beat Mihawk back. Perona, the little loli holding an umbrella in the sky, felt as if her worldview was shattered. Even if it was his own boss, Moriah, 10 of them wouldn't be a match for Mihawk. This guy is the greatest swordsman in the world today. How many swordsmen have dreamed of defeating him their entire lives? Now he was actually beaten back by two little brats. Who are those two little brats? And many more. Why do I feel that the little guy with wings and holding a black knife looks a bit like Hawkeye Mihawk? Could it be a clone of Mihawk? Is the Navy's technology already so terrifying? At this moment, Perona finally remembered the conversation between Mihawk and Red Hair 2 days ago. If I'm not mistaken, this brat is the war machine that Red Hair mentioned, right? At the time, I thought Red Hair was exaggerating a bit and thought Hawkeye Mihawk couldn't be defeated by a robot. Looking back now, we were completely wrong. Who on earth created such a terrifying robot? Begabunk. Perona, with a look of shock on her face, blurted out questions one after another. Xia noticed Perona's arrival, and the corners of his mouth rose slightly. There is no need to rush into action against such a small character. Once Mihawk is dealt with, he can be arrested in an instant. I'm not afraid to tell you, this is a masterpiece created by Xia Yu, our recently released scientist. Page 25. How was it? Were you shocked? Ha ha ha. Xia said proudly that perhaps this was the only mission in his life where he could control the Seraph himself. Of course you have to finish all the things you need to install. The other sailors also spoke proudly. That's right, it's Xia Yu. He's our Navy's greatest scientist, a once-in-a-millennium talent. You may not believe it, but he is only 8 years old now, ha ha ha. In the future, our Navy's technology will only become more terrifying, ha ha ha. Exclamation what? After hearing the Navy's reply, Perona widened her eyes, opened her red lips, and had an exaggerated expression on her face. 8 years old, just created a robot that can suppress the world's greatest swordsman, Mihawk. Isn't this a bit too far-fetched? It's just off the charts. If that's really the case, if we let this so-called Xia Yu grow up for a few more years, wouldn't the whole world be turned upside down? In that case, what's the point of playing pirates? No, the fate of being crushed by the Navy in every minute. Just when Perona was extremely shocked, the two angels launched their attack again. Be careful, Mihawk, Perona exclaimed. It was seen that the speed of Seraph Hawkeye had reached the extreme. Tata Tau, using the power of his shaving, he instantly arrived in front of Mihawk. With one blow, a sharp slash, it struck Mihawk hard. Mihawk also picked up his own weapon and engaged in a duel. Two fierce slashes collided, and the terrifying aftermath blasted in all directions. The entire surrounding area was filled with strong winds due to the terrifying aftermath, and bolts of lightning struck down from the sky without regard for their lives. Mihawk's slash was more powerful. With a powerful blow, it broke the Seraph Mihawk's sword and left a scar on the Seraph Mihawk's sword arm. Contrary to Mihawk's expectations, there were no exposed wires or anything like that on his arm. PFFT, a trace of blood slid down from the sky. What? Mihawk opened his mouth slightly. This is actually human blood. A robot actually has human blood. Is that guy Xia Yu a devil? At this moment, Mihawk was completely stunned. This is far beyond the scope of my brain's comprehension. I am good at fighting, but I really know nothing about robots. How is it done? No matter how hard Mihawk tried to think about it, he just couldn't imagine it. Perona in the sky was even more shocked. That robot actually has human blood. How was it made? But fortunately, Mihawk, we injured a Seraph. This battle should be easier, right? Chapter 29, Mihawk is shocked. This recovery ability is comparable to Kaido. Just when Perona and Hawkeye Mihawk were in shock, the Seraph Kizaru used his shine fruit to instantly move behind Mihawk. Yashikani no Madatama Seraph Kizaru opened his arms. The next moment, above the sky, dense waves of light blasted towards Mihawk's back. The speed is extremely fast. This is the ultimate move of Admiral Kizaru from the Marine headquarters. I originally thought that he only possessed some of Kizaru's abilities. But now it seems that this Seraph is slightly inferior to Kizaru except for the power of the devil fruit. As for the rest, there is nothing unusual compared to eating a flash fruit. This is simply an extra boost to the power of a devil fruit. Be good. I really don't know how many robots like this there are in the Navy. Mihawk felt a surge of emotion in his heart. Hawkeye, who had just fought with Seraph Mihawk, had already caught the light wave attack from behind him with his observation haki, but it was too late for him to dodge again during the interval between the attacks. Hateful to Seraphim are indeed difficult to deal with. The only thing we can do is to fight it out. Mihawk, at this moment, all the armament haki in his body was gathered on his back. Rumble exclamation. Just as Mihawk was about to take defensive action, all kinds of light waves in the sky hit Mihawk's back. A violent explosion sounded. Mihawk was actually knocked back dozens of steps. The burgundy shirt on his body was gradually becoming torn. Mihawk, are you okay? Perona in the sky roared loudly. Don't worry, I'm fine. I never thought that I, Hawkeye Mihawk, would be forced into such an embarrassing situation by two robot little devils. Mihawk smiled bitterly. This time, it was indeed a bit embarrassing, but then, a glimmer of light appeared in Mihawk's eyes. But luckily, I was able to use my top-level Uo haki to block the light bullet attack from behind, so I'm fine. But that robot that looks like me wasn't so lucky. I just broke one of his arms. The next battle will be much easier. Hawkeye Mihawk raised the corners of his mouth slightly, revealing a hint of arc. Regained my former confidence. After hearing what Hawkeye Mihawk said, Perona also smiled with relief. Yeah, Mihawk, it's you. I've said it before, it's impossible for the world's greatest swordsman to be defeated by a mere robot. Perona said excitedly. At this time, the sailors on the side showed a smug smile, and some of them even couldn't help laughing out loud. Who said we were injured? This is a machine developed by our doctor. Xia Yu, do you really think it doesn't have the ability to self-repair? Mihawk, take a good look at Seraph Hawkeye, see if he has a broken arm. Hyusheashin said with a big cigar hanging from his mouth and a smile on his face. What did you say? How could he be okay after being hit by the world's greatest swordsman, Hawkeye Mihawk? This is impossible. Perona first looked in the direction of Seraph Hawkeye. Afterwards, the whole person was stunned and stood there completely in a daze, covering his head with his hands and an exaggerated look on his face. Perona, look quickly, that little robot that looks like you, his arm, unexpectedly recovered. Perona opened her red lips and said in shock, back to normal. What do you mean? Page 26. Mihawk also looked in the direction of Seraph's eagle eyes with a puzzled look. White smoke billowed from the wound on Seraph Hawkeye's arm. Then, in less than a second, the wound Mihawk had inflicted on Seraph Hawkeye was completely healed. Not even a scar was left. At this moment, even Mihawk, the world's greatest swordsman, felt his scalp tingling. Even Kaido, who is known to have the strongest defense in the world, is confident that he can leave a scar on Kaido's body. This robot doesn't even have a single scar. It clearly has human blood, but its repair ability is only that of a machine. It is a perfect combination of the strengths of humans and machines, and it is really too difficult to deal with. Ha ha ha. See? This is the robot that our Dr. Xia Yu researched. He has the bloodline factors of dozens of animals in his body, so his recovery ability is naturally impressive. If you want to defeat our Seraph, you must be able to kill him instantly with one strike. Otherwise I think you'd better give up, Mihawk, Hyushayashin said with a smile while smoking a cigar. The next moment, the two Seraphim continued their offensive. How the two of them, one on the left and one on the right, attacked Mihawk again. Seraph Hawkeye, the weapon in his hand, is filled with top-level domineering aura, and he just swings it lightly. A slashing blow that covered the sky and the sun appeared in the sky. With an extremely oppressive attitude, he rushed towards Hawkeye Mihawk. Perona, who was standing aside, had her eyes wide open. This robot kid who looks like Mihawk, his attack power is already 80% of Mihawk's, right? 8-foot beautiful Magatama. The Seraph Kizaru was also not idle. He was in the sky and used his flash ability to rush into the sky again. He launched his attack again towards Mihawk. However, this is not over yet. After releasing the first wave of attacks, the two Seraphim were in the sky, using the 6 styles of the Navy and the power of the Devil Fruit to change their positions from time to time. After releasing each attack, he would instantly move to the next position and release the next attack at Mihawk. In the sky, various light waves and slashing waves appeared around Mihawk. Even Mihawk had a serious look on his face. They have more Devil Fruit abilities than me, as well as the blessing of the 6 styles of the Navy. This is not easy to deal with. Boom! Dense shells exploded all around Mihawk. Mihawk activated his observation haki and dodged from time to time. When you can't dodge, use your own slashing waves to resist. But one person facing 2 people and being attacked from different angles. Even the world's greatest swordsman was a bit overwhelmed. Finally, when the first flare hit Mihawk's shoulder, Mihawk's rhythm was completely messed up. The next moment, a barrage of attacks came crashing down on Mihawk. Rumble rumble exclamation! The entire Krakona Island was filled with the sounds of violent explosions that resounded through heaven and earth. At this moment, the earth on the entire Krakona Island also shook completely. The birds and beasts on Krakona Island felt the terrifying energy and fled in panic, as if the end of the world was coming. Chapter 30, The Red Hair Pirates Are Coming. Please give me some face. At this moment, a large amount of ruins were blown up and boiled. A huge deep pit was blasted out where Mihawk had stood before. Feeling the fierce firepower of the two Seraphim, Perona was completely stunned and stood there, her lips trembling. Mihawk, you guy, are you okay? Perona swallowed hard and said in horror. At this moment, even the Navy were completely stunned when they saw such a scene. The fierce firepower of the Seraph made his scalp tingle. Fortunately, Seraph is their partner. If any pirate developed Seraph to deal with the Navy, I'm afraid that their fate would be even worse than Mihawk's. I have to admire Dr. Xia Yu again. This Seraph is simply too terrifying. Now I finally understand why the Navy abolished the Seven Warlords system. The terrifying power of these Seraphs can completely replace the Seven Warlords. The key is that they obey orders so well. Why not use robots? Forget about replacing the Seven Warlords. I think that with Dr. Xia Yu's brain, it won't take long before even the 4 emperors can be replaced. By that time, the 4 emperors and their revolutionary army will be defeated, and the entire world will belong to the Navy. At that time, the Navy will be the true overlord of the sea. The day of justice has finally arrived ahead of schedule. However, I didn't expect that the person who brought justice to the Navy was not one of the 3 admirals, nor was it Mr. Garp, but an 8-year-old kid, a technology fanatic, Xia Yu. Deeply shocked by the scene before them, the Navy members chattered among themselves, excitedly discussing. Even General Hyushayashin's mouth twitched. Is this the true power of Seraph? Being able to lead the Seraphs this time is probably the most glorious moment in my naval career. After all, when it gets out, it will be said that it was Mihawk who was defeated under Hyushayashin's leadership. This wouldn't it make me brag about it for the rest of my life? Finally, the smoke gradually cleared from the ground where Mihawk was previously. What appeared before everyone's eyes was a huge pit, several thousand meters deep. Hawkeye Mihawk is currently located in the center of the huge pit. The clothes on his body were torn to pieces, a lot of blood spurted out from the corners of his mouth, and various sword wounds appeared on his chest. As expected of the world's greatest swordsman, even after such an attack, he still managed to stay standing. Xia said admiringly, "The sword wound on my back is a shame for a swordsman. I naturally can't fall down," Mihawk said with trembling lips. However, anyone with a discerning eye could see that Mihawk was already at the end of his strength. "Seraphim, listen to my order. Put sea-stone handcuffs on Mihawk and this woman and take them away," Xia said loudly. Perona immediately showed a panic expression. "What? I thought I would be able to feel safe and secure in Mihawk's castle. I never thought that after just a few days I would be arrested by the Navy." Perona was in tears. Just when the two Seraphim had just set out, the entire surrounding environment suddenly became depressing. Suddenly, a huge slash appeared in the sky and struck the head of Seraphim Hawkeye. Simultaneously, two gunshots rang out. Two bullets carrying top-level duo came towards the Seraph Kizaru. Under the terrifying blow, Seraph Hawkeye's chest was hit by a huge slashing wound. The entire Seraph Hawkeye flew backwards and finally hit the ground hard, creating a huge crater. Two gunshots rang out, and two holes appeared on the forehead of Seraph Kizaru. Seraph Kizaru, his entire body, fell to the ground with a bang in front of the burning mountain. The crew of the Red Hair Pirates appeared instantly. "Fortunately, Captain, we finally caught up." Beckman slowly exhaled a puff of cigarette and said with squinted eyes. Red-haired Shanks said nothing as he helped Mihawk up. Shanks was also surprised when he saw the damage on Mihawk's body. It's unbelievable that even the world's greatest swordsman couldn't withstand the attacks of two mere Seraphs. Shanks was badly injured, but the two Seraphim were unharmed. "It seems that the combat effectiveness of the Seraphim in my intelligence was still underestimated." Shanks' eye was arrogant before. "I never thought that two little Seraphim who looked like children could be so powerful. If the number of these horrible things increases, I'm afraid that all the pirates in the ocean will be wiped out in the future," Mihawk said seriously. "Let's not talk about this for now, Mihawk. From now on, you will stay on my Red Hair Pirates ship. In the short term, even if I think of Seraph, no one will dare to touch my Red Hair Pirates," Shanks said seriously. Then, his eyes moved and looked at the Navy in front of him. Feeling the red-haired man's gaze, a powerful pressure instantly hit the sailors. Beads of sweat appeared on Lieutenant General Xia forehead, and his expression was filled with extreme surprise. Page 27. Red hair has come to the New World, and this damn oppressive feeling, worthy of being the owner of the strongest domineering color. I am a Vice Admiral of the Navy, but I lost my composure in front of Red Hair Shanks. Red Hair Shanks is definitely a monster. Facing a group of Marines, Shanks, feeling oppressed, spoke calmly. "Please give me some face. I think we should just leave it at that." Mihawk voluntarily withdrew from the Shichibukai. "Your goal has been achieved." Red-haired Shanks, holding the famous sword Griffin, aimed at the burning mountain and said with his eyes slightly narrowed, Chapter 31. Red Hair, go check on that scary kid Xia Yu. Strong pressure came again. Every one of the thousands of Navy soldiers felt the intense pressure on their bodies. Even at the sight of the red-haired man, their bodies couldn't help but tremble. Originally, Lieutenant General Xia, who wanted to continue fighting, thought of what Jan Guo said when he set out. The mission can fail if an unexpected situation occurs. Prioritize the safety of the Seraph in this case. If the Seraph is destroyed and cannot be repaired, it would be a waste of time and effort, which is really not worth it. He gritted his teeth and finally gave up the idea of continuing the attack. "Shanks, just wait. Our Navy will eventually replace you, the 4 Emperors." "Seraphim, destroy this island," Xia said seriously. The Seraphim, who were lying on the ground before, recovered from the wounds on their bodies in just 2 seconds. Under Hu Xiaoshan's order, Seraph, Mihawk, and Kizaru attacked at the same time. Waves of light emanated from the hands of the Seraph Kizaru, changing the color of the entire sky. Seraph Hawkeye was also not idle, and a huge slash was directed at the ground in front of him. All kinds of extremely terrifying power are located on Krekana Island. Once they come into contact with the earth, violent explosions are emitted. Under the powerful force, the entire earth on Krekana Island is shaking constantly. The entire Krekana Island is covered with huge pits and cracks several thousand meters long. Finally, the entire island could no longer bear the weight, and the cracks on the island connected together, and the entire island was forcibly divided into blocks. Finally, huge islands, piece by piece, dropped sharply. It won't be long before the entire Krekana Island will sink into the sea with a loud bang. Afterwards, under the order to burn the mountain, the Navy left Krekana Island. Witnessing all this, red-haired Shanks just narrowed his eyes slightly and did not try to stop it at all. That's because Mihawk can no longer survive on this island. I can save Mihawk once, but that doesn't mean I can save Mihawk a second time. Therefore, it is better to give the Navy some face so that the Navy can report to the authorities and avoid conflict between the two. So you let them go? Looking at the sailors leaving one by one, the fat Lakaloo showed a puzzled expression. Even if the Seraphs have the strength of the 7 Warlords of the sea, the red-hair pirates cannot fail. Why let them go? Lakaloo was very confused. Don't act rashly. These robots are very strange. We'll also suffer losses in a fight with these robots. Besides, the Navy today is no longer what it used to be, so it's better not to provoke them, red-haired Shanks said with a wry smile. Mihawk also showed a solemn expression. That's right. Just based on that terrifying recovery ability, any of their robots are not easy to defeat. Lakaloo then nodded. Regarding Shanks's slash and Beckman's musket, their future, Lakaloo was more familiar than anyone else. Even the 7 Warlords of the sea would be killed instantly by this blow. However, the Seraphim suddenly recovered to their previous state in an instant, which was very difficult to deal with. Just like that, with an uneasy feeling about the future, the red-hair pirates, along with Mihawk, rushed to their home base, the New World. Jesus Boo, tell the intelligence department you lead to put everything aside for now. Go check out Seraph, and that brat named Xia Yu. How come, at the age of 8, he can create such a terrifying killing machine? Is there really such a natural genius in this world? Shanks said with a serious expression. Grand Line, Daughter Island, in the Amazon Lily Kingdom. Inside the palace, a tall woman with deep blue eyes, extremely beautiful and wearing snake-shaped earrings, frowned slightly. What did you say, sister? 2 kids, one of whom looks a lot like me, beat you up like this. Navy, what does this mean? This person is Boa Hancock, one of the 7 Warlords of the sea. Let's go and see what these Navy men are trying to do. When Hancock came out of the palace and saw the appearance of the Kingdom of Women, she was stunned. Most of his own people were frozen into stone statues. Isn't this my ability? Hancock looked shocked. I saw a child who looked very similar to me, using his own ability to turn the inhabitants of 100 Snake Island into stone one by one. The residents of 9 Snake Island were all in a panic. Why does that child actually possess the abilities of Lady Snake? It's too terrifying. At this time, Tao Yu in the Navy also noticed Hancock's existence. Boa Hancock, I am officially informing you that the Shichibukai system has been abolished. What? Boa Hancock's eyes suddenly widened. I originally thought that no matter what outrageous things I did, I would be forgiven. But looking back now, it seems I was wrong. The next moment, the Seraph Empress, Seraph Aokiji, rushed towards the Empress. The entire battle lasted only a dozen minutes and ended with the complete defeat of 9 Snake Island. Just when the Empress was at the end of her strength, the Snake Lady suddenly pulled the Empress and ran away to the back. Hancock, follow me. There is a secret passage on 9 Snake Island. We must not be captured by the Navy again, Grandma Snake said with all her strength. But the residents of 9 Snake Island. Hancock looked reluctant. Idiot. If you are arrested, the residents of Nine Snake Island will be really finished, said the snake grandmother with a serious face. Just after the Empress escaped, Taudu also gave the order directly. Since the 7 warlords of the sea no longer exist, then of course we can't allow pirates to be the king of a country. Seraphim, destroy Nine Snake Island for me. Look at the destruction caused by the Seraphim on Nine Snake Island. Taudu narrowed her beautiful eyes slightly, revealing a hint of pride. With such a terrifying killing machine, it doesn't matter even if you, Hancock, escape. It won't be long before all the pirates in the world will be wiped out by the Navy. Chapter 32, Young Master, Run. It'll be too late if you don't run now. In the New World, Fishman Island, Jin was also suddenly attacked by Seraph. What happened to that little guy? Not only does he look very similar to me when I was little, but what's even more terrifying is that this kid actually possesses my strength, even my fishman karate. What kind of black technology is this? Jinbei was completely dumbfounded. Look at the damage that Seraph Akenu and Seraph Jinp have caused to the fishmen in their own sea. Jinbei simply raised his hands. Assistant, I agree with abolishing the Shichibukai system. Arrest me and don't harm my men. Jinbei roared loudly. Smoker, the smoker, slowly exhaled a puff of smoke and narrowed his eyes slightly. Tashigi handcuffed Jinbei and put him in the underwater prison. Smoker said seriously. Having been arrested, Jinbei always looked stunned. The 2 children who had just attacked his Fishman Island remained silent, and after he was captured, they stood there, motionless. This made Jinbei suspect that this was a robot, age 28. But who on earth created such a terrifying robot? Just 2 robots beat his pirate group into this state. Jin was still very depressed. Hey, Smoker, who made these robots? Jinbei asked unwillingly. What? Xia Yu, you're still an 8-year-old kid, you bastard, are you kidding me? How is this possible? While on the sea, a huge warship is sailing. The gentle sea breeze blew on the mole's cloak. Vice Admiral Mole looked at the rows of Seraphim standing behind him, his face full of excitement. These little guys are the Navy's treasures. With such terrifying combat power, from now on, no force in the entire ocean will be a match for the Navy. The Navy will become the true and absolute overlord of this ocean. Just as I was feeling sentimental, the Den Den Mushi suddenly rang. This is Marshal Zhang Guo's phone number. Strange, hasn't the battle situation here been reported to Marshal Zhang Guo? Could something else have happened this time? With a hint of doubt, Lieutenant General Mole answered the phone. On the other end of the phone, Marshal Zhang Guo came straight to the point. Mole, there is something I need to tell you. Since the other Seraphs were used to deal with the abolished Shichibukai, now, there's only Doflamingo left, that guy, with no one to deal with him. Go and ask Xia Yu if he can let his 10 Seraphs destroy Doflamingo's lair and tell him that the Navy doesn't need him anymore. Zhang Guo said excitedly. To be honest, I also hate the 7 warlords of the sea. However, the Navy before me had to do this in order to fight against the power of the 4 emperors. Therefore, the Navy turned a blind eye to the 7 warlords they recruited. However, now that they have the Seraphs, the Navy no longer needs the 7 warlords of the sea. Therefore, Sengoku, a 7 warlord of the sea, has no intention of staying. After hearing what Zhang Guo said, Mole immediately told Xia Yu about this matter. After hearing this, Xia Yu waved her pink little hand. There's no need to ask me about this kind of thing. It's my duty as Xia Yu to solve it while we're at it. The purpose of this trip, the Tree of the Universe, has already been obtained, and I don't want to ask more about other matters of the Navy. It's on the way anyway. If you want to solve it, just do it at this moment. Xia Yu was thinking about how to continue to raise funds after returning to the Navy headquarters. By the way, this time, I'll give you the right to use the Seraph, Mole. I just need to watch. Xia Yu murmured. After hearing Xia Yu's words, Lieutenant General Mole's eyes flashed with a bright light. My dear, the right to use 10 Seraphim, that is the right to use 10 Seraphim. Even the 3 generals may not be able to receive such treatment. Such a valuable right to use, Dr. Xia Yu, just let me use it. At that moment, Lieutenant General Mole could not hide the excitement on his face, and it showed on his face. Well, thank you very much, Dr. Xia Yu. Lieutenant General Mole saluted Xia Yu and said, 10 Seraphim, if they are willing in the New World, they have the confidence to fight against the 4 emperors. In this way, the huge warship sailed all the way, and after several hours, it arrived at the ruling area of Dressrosa. At this time, on the high ground of Dressrosa's palace, in the conference room, a man wearing a pink feather coat, pointed leather shoes, and red sunglasses on his face smiled. This man was Doflamingo. Phew. Happy cooperation. Doflamingo, holding a full wine glass in his hand, clinked it with a man beside him. The other man sitting on the high ground of the palace was Quinn, a man with an unusual figure, pigtails, and a metal jaw. He was none other than Jack the Drought, the famous man in the New World. Jack, also holding his huge wine glass, collided with Doflamingo. Happy cooperation, Doflamingo. Next time, we, the Beast's pirates, will ask for more artificial devil fruits. Price is not an issue. Can you increase production? After hearing what Drought Jack said, Doflamingo looked even more proud. Don't worry, Jack, we are old partners, it's no problem. Doflamingo replied with a smile. At this moment, Doflamingo's den mushy suddenly rang. This is Virgo. Minge narrowed his eyes slightly. Recently, for some reason, Virgo has been talking to him more and more frequently. Isn't he afraid of being discovered by the Navy? What happened? Are you willing to contact me even at the risk of being discovered? After sending the servants away from the conference room, Doflamingo answered the phone. The call had just been answered when Virgo's anxious voice came from the other end of the line. Young master, be careful. The Navy has recently launched a sudden attack and launched a siege plan against the entire ocean. Besides, I wasn't notified. I guess I was under suspicion. The news I just received from someone else is already 2 days late. So, it's very likely that the encirclement and suppression plan against you has already begun. You run quickly. I'm also ready to leave the Navy, Virgo said anxiously. Chapter 33. Jack, 10 little brats, let me see what they can do this time. I heard the Navy had deployed a large number of combat forces, including almost all of the headquarters' renowned vice admirals, and even brought along powerful Seraphim. That's why Virgo was so panicked after hearing Virgo's words. Doflamingo, who had been smiling before, suddenly had a vein bulging on his forehead. What did you say, Virgo? Is it so serious? You let me run? Do you mean to give up Dressrosa? You should know how much I paid to get this place, Doflamingo said with a twitching mouth. Torpal, Pika, and Diamani, who were standing by, all looked very different when they heard this. Yeah, Virgo, you are kidding, right? Torpal said exaggeratedly with his nose running. Isn't it just the Navy? We have endured for so many years and now we are firmly sitting on the throne. Are we still afraid of the Navy? Pika shouted at the top of his voice. Yeah, at worst, we can just fight the Navy. At most, some people will be injured. If we run away, that would be a bit too cowardly, right? Diamandi also showed an incredible expression. Drought Jack, who was standing nearby, also heard it clearly. An expression of extreme shock appeared on his face. Isn't it just the Navy? As long as the admirals aren't dispatched, there's no need to panic. Doflamingo, I'm here to keep you in check. I want to see which Navy dares to touch you. Drought Jack, with a violent look on his face, patted his chest and said. However, the person on the other end of the phone, upon learning that Drought Jack was also in Dressrosa, did not let his guard down at all. Little lord, I'm really not kidding you guys. Those man-made machines are really powerful. Even if there's a drought, you guys will definitely be unable to resist this encirclement. Hurry up and lead your family members to escape, young master. Only if you can survive, our family will have a chance to make a comeback. Afterwards, Virgo hung up his phone without much hesitation and started running away. I wasn't even notified about this mission, which meant the Navy had already started to doubt me at this time. If you don't run away, you will be caught sooner or later. At this moment, a series of muffled sounds were heard from outside Dressrosa, and an intelligence soldier hurried over. Report, Lord Doflamingo. The Navy sent 10 children who looked about 8 or 9 years old. Those children are so terrifying. One of them even possesses your power. They're wreaking havoc in Dressrosa. The Smile Factory has already been destroyed. And what's even more terrifying is that the Cotters can no longer hold on. They're about to reach the Imperial Palace heights. At this moment, there was chaos in Dressrosa. Rao Ji had just used his ultimate physical move Ji when he was knocked unconscious to the ground by the Seraph Moriah, who used the Navy 6 styles and the finger gun. Upon seeing this scene, Mahabashi used his immense strength and descended from the sky with his massive body. You actually attacked Rao Ji. Damn brat, I'm going to kill you. Be crushed into a meat patty. Mob eyes roared loudly. The land in front of Xia Yu was covered in darkness by Mahabashi. Page 29. Lieutenant General Mole raised the corners of his mouth slightly. How could I possibly allow you to affect the safety of our doctor? Xia Yu? The next moment, Seraph Kizaru suddenly activated a flash fruit and released countless light bullets into the sky. Rumble before Mahabaz's body came down, he was bombarded by the Seraph Kizaru and completely lost consciousness. Then, Seraph Kizaru soared into the sky and kicked Mahabashi's body directly out. Exclamation! The fat body fell heavily on a huge building. The entire huge building collapsed and a large number of bricks fell from the sky. The pirates below were smashed and fled in all directions. At the same time, the Seraph Akenu also used his own devil fruit ability, Meteor Volcano. The entire sky was illuminated in a fiery red. Huge boulders of magma fell from the sky, and each one produced a huge explosion after landing on the ground. A large number of pirates were directly blasted by the powerful magma power, burning with flames, and screaming and wailing continuously, "Help, help! Why are these kids so powerful? What's going on with this strange magma? Isn't this Admiral Akenu's devil fruit ability? Lord Doflamingo, please save us quickly, it hurts so much." The pirates rolled on the ground one by one, howling at the top of their lungs. The other Don Quixote Cotters were also killed instantly in front of the Seraphim. Inside the palace hall, after hearing the words of Doflamingo's intelligence soldier, Jack the Drought suddenly widened his eyes. What did you say? Just 10 little brats, and they beat you into this state? The Smile Factory was destroyed. Are you guys a bunch of idiots? Drought Jack was extremely angry, with flames burning in his eyes, and all the violent aura in his body was released at this moment without any concealment. The huge body stood up directly. Then he looked at Doflamingo. Brother Ming, if you're scared, just be a coward. It's just the Navy, right? I, Drought Jack, will go and see what these 10 little brats are capable of, Drought Jack said ferociously. Chapter 34. Is this the little brat who created the Seraph? Then he jumped from the heights of the palace and jumped down from a building that was dozens of stories high. Finally, the huge body, weighing nearly 1 ton, fell heavily to the ground. Boom! Accompanied by a muffled sound, the upper floors of the entire palace shook. A lot of dirt and bricks were thrown into the air. Damn it. Young master, we were underestimated, Torpal said with a runny nose. Let's go together and deal with those so-called little devils, right? Pika shouted at the top of his voice. They are just 10 arrogant child robots. Isn't Virgo's information a bit exaggerated? Diamandi also showed a disdainful expression. Young master, you used to be a fearless person. How come he is now afraid of just 10 robots that look like children? This is too unreasonable. Unexpectedly, although Doflamingo was so angry that his fingers were cracking, he was able to stop Treball and other top officials. Don't act rashly. Go open the secret escape route. Let's see how Jack fights them. If the enemy isn't as strong as Virgo says, let's go help Jack. If the enemy really has Virgo, and what he said is so terrifying, we should run away immediately, Doflamingo said seriously with his eyes rolling, although he himself did not believe what Virgo said. How could a mere robot possibly possess the combat power of the Seven Warlords of the Sea? But, Virgo, the intelligence is never wrong. Doflamingo, who is a businessman by nature, thought of the best solution at the first moment. After hearing this, the other top officials also nodded in agreement. Afterwards, everyone went directly to the high building of the palace and became spectators. On the other side, Drought Jack appeared in front of Xia Yu and Lieutenant General Mole. Facing Xia Yu, this 8-year-old kid, Drought Jack, simply chose to ignore maybe he's a relative of the mole's, like his nephew. Looking at the little kids around him who looked about 8 or 9 years old, they actually had Brother Jin's flames on their bodies. Drought Jack felt a wave of contempt in his heart. This is stealing the special racial abilities of Brother Jin. The Navy is really shameless. I have found the reason why these children are so powerful. It is the powerful defense of the Lunalia family. But unfortunately, I also know the secret of Lunalia's family. Although the Lunalia family is powerful, they cannot possess the ultimate attack and defense at the same time. Brother Jin has already told me all of this. So, these 10 little devils are no problem for Drought Jack. On his face, there was a hint of contempt for Vice Admiral Mole and other Navy officers. Lieutenant General Mole, long time no see. Doflamingo is my partner, so you'd better get out of here. Drought Jack, with his huge body, suddenly stood in front of the mole and the others, with a fierce look on his face, and a fierce aura rushed towards them. If you don't know what's good for you, even if you're from the Navy, I, Drought, will kill you today. I think you know this better than anyone else, right? Vice Admiral Mole, Drought Jack said jokingly. Lieutenant General Mole narrowed his eyes tightly. The Navy had previously clashed with the Beast's pirates in the New World. So, the Mole was quite familiar with Drought Jack, extremely cruel and stubborn. It's not surprising that Jack dared to kill the Navy in the New World. If, before he had met Drought Jack, this brainless guy, he would have had no choice but to avoid him in order to save the lives of his naval soldiers. But this time, I'm sorry. After hearing the arrogant words of Drought Jack, Lieutenant General Mole smiled. Drought Jack, you're such an idiot. Originally, this time, we came here to arrest Doflamingo. Since you are trying to step forward, we will arrest you as well, said the mole coldly. Then, Vice Admiral Mole did not hesitate at all. Under his own command, 10 childlike robots suddenly surrounded Drought Jack. Across the entire battlefield, the fighting spirit instantly rose. Looking at the 10 little ghosts surrounding him, Drought Jack burst into laughter. Ha ha! Just these 10 little brats, you think you can deal with me? It's just like a dream. Isn't it just the defense of the Lunalia family? I know the secrets of the Monalia family. This time, Mole, you made a wrong calculation. This time, I will kill you all, said Jack the Drought with a big laugh. At the same time, the black armor gradually spread over the shortle sword. The atmosphere at the entire scene became solemn. War is imminent. Those pirate minions of the Don Quixote family who had just rushed over saw the drought and took action personally, each of them showing an arrogant expression. Oh my god. Isn't that man Lord Drought from the Beast's Pirates? He actually took action for our Don Quixote family. As expected of Lord Doflamingo, he even managed to move the Buddha of Drought. Now, with Drought Jack, who has a $1 billion bounty, teaming up with our Don Quixote family, we're sure to win. Ha ha ha. Thinking you can defeat the combination of Don Quixote and Drought with just robots is simply impossible. The pirates around him laughed and joked. Facing the ridicule of Drought Jack, the mole remained unmoved. Instead, he lowered his head and asked Xia Yu beside him. Page 30. Doctor. Xia Yu, can I start now? The mole said respectfully. Okay. He noticed Vice Admiral Mole's movements and tone. Doflamingo, who was standing on a high building in the palace, opened his mouth wide with a look of surprise. That little guy must be the doctor. Xia Yu that Virgo mentioned, Doflamingo said in shock. When I saw him today, it turned out to be just as Virgo said, an 8-year-old kid. Saw Xia Yu, cute and childish. The highest-ranking officials of the Don Quixote family all showed exaggerated expressions. I can't believe the guy who created these robots is such a little kid. Yeah. It seems like that child's brain isn't even fully developed yet. It's hard to believe how powerful a weapon can this little brat create. Master, I don't think there's anything to be afraid of for a machine made by a little brat like this. Let's go. Chapter 35. Jack was shocked. The robot has hacky. The top officials around were talking at once. While Doflamingo was hesitating whether to go up, the battle on the lower floor of the palace had already begun. Seraph Moria and Seraph Crocodile took the lead in launching their attacks. Both of them started shaving at the same time. In an instant, he was forced in front of Jack the Drought. It hit Drought Jack in the face. Okay. Even Drought Jack had a look of shock on his face. These robots not only possess the fire ability of the Lunalia family, but also have mastered the 6 styles of the Navy. Although Drought Jack is very large, he is very agile. After sensing the attacks from Seraphim Moria and Seraphim Crocodile, he quickly retreated. The 2 attacks hit the place where Drought Jack was standing before. Rumble rumble exclamation accompanied by 2 loud noises that resounded through heaven and earth. 2 huge deep pits were smashed out in front of Drought Jack. It is dozens of meters deep. A lot of sweat suddenly broke out on Drought Jack's forehead. Let's not talk about other machines, just the 2 little guys attacking in front of us, their combat power, but it's so vulgar. Whether in terms of speed or attack power, it is enough to break my defense. Drought Jack suddenly didn't dare to be careless. The Don Quixote family and others in the royal palace were all slightly surprised. I didn't expect these little robots to be so difficult to deal with. However, if they are all of this strength, my Don Quixote family will not run away. I don't know, how are the other robots performing? Doflamingo showed a curious expression. The other members of the Don Quixote family also looked over with curiosity. On the battlefield, just as Drought Jack made a deep jump backwards, he dodged the 2 attacks. With the shortle knife in his hand, Lieutenant General Mole pointed at Xia Yu and slashed at him fiercely from left to right. The pitch-black slashing wave cut through the sky and slashed towards Mole Vice Admiral Xia Yu. If I'm not mistaken, the control of the robot is in your hands, right? Once you're dealt with, won't these troublesome little robots fall apart on their own? Jack, who was in the air, grinned and said proudly. Doflamingo, who was watching from above the palace, raised the corners of his mouth slightly when he saw it. I didn't expect Jack. This guy is usually careless and reckless. I didn't expect that I could think of this. Yes, if we kill the people who control the machines, these little robots will collapse on their own. Robots are just robots after all. Phew. Doflamingo smiled. On the battlefield, 2 pitch-black slashing waves cut through the air. Then, he just slashed out at a distance of several meters. Seraph Jind and Seraph Mihawk, both of them are out together. Ta-da-da! Accompanied by the sound of feet continuously stepping on the air. The 2 of them suddenly stood in front of Xia Yu Mole. Jinbei crossed his arms in front of his chest, and Hawkeye held his sword horizontally, assuming a defensive posture. Seeing this scene, Drought showed a contemptuous smile. They all know the 6 styles of the Navy, which is quite tricky. But, unfortunately, what they encountered was a severe drought. The speed is quite fast, but it's a pity it's useless. That's hacky. You're just a robot. Before he could finish his words, Drought Jack's eyes suddenly widened into a look of shock. Okay. And many more. What's the situation? Blocked. Exclamation. 2 terrifying slashes were easily blocked by Seraph Jind and Seraph Hawkeye. That was the slashing wave released by his top-level UO. It's just a robot. How can you resist it without any domineering power? And many more. Since they were able to withstand my Ryuo attack, that means these two machines possessed domineering abilities. Drought Jack, the expression on his face was exaggerated to the extreme. Before, the members of the Don Quixote family were quite curious about the performance of the Seraphim. Now seeing the performance of Seraph Jinbei and Seraph Hawkeye, they all opened their mouths wide, and the expressions on their faces were exaggerated to the extreme. There's actually a place to live. These little robots not only possess the power of the Marine Six styles, but they've even learned Haki as well. Also, the level of this armament Haki seems to be quite high. The highest-ranking officials in Don Quixote's family were all terrified. Facing these childlike robots, I no longer dare to look down on them. The veins on Doflamingo's forehead also bulged. Fortunately, I didn't attack rashly. Otherwise the Don Quixote family is in real danger of being completely wiped out on the battlefield. Seeing the performance of the Seraph, Vice Admiral Mole's mouth was almost curled up to the sky. Although I am not the one fighting, I clearly have the feeling that I am fighting. This feeling is simply amazing. Don't hold back, other Seraphim, attack. Lieutenant General Mole gave the order. The other Seraphim that had surrounded Jack before launched their attacks again one by one. Jack, who was in drought, was in shock and had not yet reacted. Then he found that a fist had hit his abdomen hard. Drought Jack widened his eyes and looked over with the corner of his eye. "This is Akanu's appearance," said Jack the Drought, his eyes bloodshot. Afterwards, Seraph Akiji and Seraph Kizaru were also not idle. Chapter 36. The two of them went out together. He stepped on the moon step with his fingers extended. They all aimed at Drought Jack's arms. Point gun. Bump bump, accompanied by two sonic booms. Two terrifying finger gun shock waves hit the legs of Drought Jack. Click. Drought Jack widened his eyes. Asshole. My bones are broken. Is this a combination of Yu Sekira Haki and finger gun? Is this still a robot? Chapter 36. Drought. Xia Yu is a born devil. The other Seraphim were not idle either, and they all used their own 6 styles of the Navy to attack Jack the Drought. Tada Tao take advantage of the speed of shaving. He came close to Jack the Drought, gathered the armed color domineering on his fist, and blasted towards Jack the Drought. In an instant, Jack the Drought's body, limbs, back, and even head were attacked by the Seraphim. A strong pain came over him, and Drought Jack's face was distorted to the extreme. PFFD. A mouthful of blood also gushed out from Drought Jack's mouth. Drought Jack, his entire body, slammed heavily onto the ground. Boom! Exclamation. The huge body fell to the ground, stirring up a cloud of dust. At this moment, the Don Quixote pirates who were watching on the side were completely terrified. They kept swallowing their saliva, their faces filled with horror. Oh my goodness, Drought Jack was actually beaten unconscious by these 10 little brats. This is the first time I've seen such terrifying robots. Not only do they possess the Navy's 6 styles of physical skills, but even more terrifying is that these robots can actually possess Haki. This is beyond anyone's expectations. Where's Don Quixote Doflamingo-sama? Why hasn't he made a move yet? If we don't take action now, I'm afraid the entire Dressrosa will be destroyed by these damn robots. At this time, Doflamingo, who was sitting in the Imperial Palace, had bulging veins on his forehead and an extremely ugly expression. The highest-ranking officials beside him opened their eyes wide, completely stunned where they stood, too horrified to speak a word. No one said anything to encourage Doflamingo to fight anymore on the battlefield. Just when everyone thought Drought Jack was finished. In Dressrosa Square, where the entire battle was taking place, the voice of Jack the Drought was heard again. Asshole. Do you think you can kill me like this? It's just a bunch of little robots made by little brats. But it's Drought Jack. Accompanied by a roar. Drought Jack, who was lying on the ground before, suddenly expanded his entire body at an extremely fast rate. First the legs, then the arms, and finally the entire head. The image began to become mammoth. Pieces of clothes were directly burst by the expanding body of Drought Jack. Afterwards, Drought Jack turned into a huge mammoth. Under the influence of the animal-type fruit ability, Drought Jack himself has recovered a lot of the damage he had suffered before. Even the previous fractures were connected. After seeing this scene, the pirate minions standing aside regained their excitement from their previous fear. I almost forgot Lord Drought Jack is the user of the animal-type mammoth fruit. His defense and recovery abilities are truly insane. Haha. Great. That way, the attacks from those Seraphim won't matter. As expected, he's one of the 3 disasters of the 4 Emperor's pirate groups. This terrifying defensive power is unmatched. Even Doflamingo, who was in the Imperial Palace, raised the corners of his mouth slightly, revealing a hint of relief. You are worthy of it, Jack. In this case, Drought Jack, using his powerful animal-based recovery ability, is not afraid of these domineering attacks at all. Even if Jack is injured, as long as the damage is not particularly strong and fatal, Drought Jack can recover in a short time. This can effectively dissolve the attack of the Seraphim. The other top officials of the Don Quixote family also showed surprised expressions. I've heard for a long time that the guys in the Beast's pirates have stronger defense than each other. Now it seems to be true. Is this the mammoth fruit? The speed at which wounds heal is truly terrifying. It's said that this mammoth form not only makes one's skin and flesh thicker, but also greatly enhances endurance. One can fight the enemy for 3 days and 3 nights without feeling tired. Do you want to go over and help Jack? Just as the Don Quixote family hesitated, a horrifying scene appeared. On the battlefield upon seeing Drought Jack transform into a mammoth, Vice Admiral Mole no longer hesitated. Get rid of Drought Jack and take him away. Lieutenant General Mole gave an order. All the Seraphim took action again at this moment. The sword in the hand of Seraph Mihawk has turned black, and he slashed at Jack the Drought with a sharp blow. The 3 generals, Seraphim, all used their abilities. Various light bombs and magma boulders appeared in the sky. Above the ground all kinds of fierce coldness instantly came towards Drought Jack. The other Seraphim also used their abilities one after another. At this moment, all 10 Seraphim erupted, and the terrifying fighting spirit filled the entire world. Feeling the attacks from all around, at this moment, Drought Jack felt a tingling sensation on his scalp. Oh my god, is it my eyes that are blurring my vision? This is Admiral Akanu's Magma Fruit ability, that is Admiral Aokiji's Ice Devil Fruit ability, and Doflamingo's String Fruit ability. Every Seraph can actually imitate the Devil Fruit abilities of their original self. They are robots. Robots also have Devil Fruit abilities. What's even more terrifying is that these Devil Fruit abilities are almost no different from the original Devil Fruit abilities. This is thousands of times stronger than the artificial Devil Fruit they bought from the Don Quixote family. After all, Doflamingo's artificial Devil Fruits are all animal type and have great side effects. Even if you eat it, you may not gain any ability. Xia Yu, this kid actually developed so many terrifying abilities. Each robot possesses the abilities of the Lunaria family, Devil Fruit abilities, Haki, and the Navy's 6 styles. Moreover, it absolutely obeys the user's orders. Isn't this a living war machine? Although Drought Jack has transformed into a giant mammoth, one can still see Jack's extremely shocked expression from his mammoth head. The corners of Drought Jack's mouth twitched, and he swallowed hard with his huge mammoth Adam's apple. Gulu, at the age of only 8, he has achieved such an accomplishment. Even Vegapunk, who is 500 years ahead of the world, cannot do it. This kid named Xia Yu, at the age of 8, was actually able to create such a terrifying robot. Could it be that this guy was born a devil? Drought Jack was completely dumbfounded. Chapter 37. My head can no longer be hard. Page 32. Facing the overwhelming attacks, the only thing Drought Jack could do was to use his armament Haki to its fullest extent, quickly covering his entire body. Utilize the animal-type defense and the thick-armed armor all over your body to maximize your defense. Only in this way, perhaps, can you protect your life. Yes. Now, after seeing the powerful abilities of the Seraphim, Jack the Drought can no longer hold his head high. The sky is full of such terrifying attacks. Being able to survive is my greatest pursuit. Now that I think about it, The news about Doflamingo in the palace was not false at all. If I step forward on my own, I will just be taking a beating for Doflamingo. Damn clown joker, I'm taking the beating for you. I'm afraid you've been scared away by now. Jack felt a surge of resentment in his heart. Sure enough, it was exactly what Jack thought. At this time, inside the Imperial Palace, the members of Don Quixote's family were terrified and stood there completely stunned with strange expressions. Young master, isn't that your ability? It's just a robot, but it actually possesses your ability, Torpal said with snot running down his face and shocked eyes. Not only your ability, young master, but also the devil fruit abilities of the 3 admirals and the 7 warlords of the sea. These damn robots actually possess them all. Pika widened his eyes with an incredible look on his face. Are these robots so terrifying? Each of them is a living killing machine. With so many killing machines, even the 4 emperors wouldn't be able to win, right? Diamandi's eyes were filled with fear, and he couldn't help but exclaim. Even Doflamingo saw the performance of the Seraphim. His lips couldn't help but tremble. Top-notch physical skills, top-notch domineering abilities, and now even the most mysterious devil fruit power above the sea. These robots also possess it. Every Seraph has the strength of the 7 warlords of the sea. With such obedient and powerful robots, the Navy naturally has no need to subdue the 7 warlords and continue the execution. What Virgo said turned out to be true. Such a war machine cannot be defeated even with the full strength of his entire family. Escape, Doflamingo roared without hesitation. If he hesitated any longer, he might really die here. Following Doflamingo's order, the highest-ranking officials of the entire Don Quixote family fled madly towards the secret escape passage without any hesitation. The Smile Factory, and even the entire Dressrosa, can be abandoned. Only if they survive will they have a chance to turn things around. As a businessman, Doflamingo could naturally see through this. On the battlefield in an instant, all kinds of attack methods in the sky, the power of Magma, line ability, shadow attack, laser beam, and powerful slashing, all bombarded the body of Jack the Drought. The head, body, and limbs exploded violently. Feeling the pain in his body, Drought Jack's eyes widened and became bloodshot. It hurts so much. A cry in the heart. Rumble. The entire surroundings were filled with the sound of violent explosions resounding through heaven and earth. A large amount of dust rose up at this moment, filling the entire space. After releasing this wave of attacks, the 10 Seraphim stood in place, lined up in a row, like soldiers waiting for inspection. The smoke finally dissipated, and the figure of Drought Jack appeared in front of everyone. At this time, Jack the Drought had already turned into a human form, lying on the ground motionless. His clothes were ripped to shreds, and his body was filled with black smoke due to the energy of the explosion. It can be said to be extremely embarrassing. At this point, Jack the Drought, whose bounty was 1 billion berries, was instantly killed by the collective attack of the Seraphim. Looking at Jack the Drought, who was lying motionless on the ground and completely unconscious, Vice Admiral Mole narrowed his eyes slightly. If I didn't want to arrest you and put you in the underwater prison, I'm afraid that if the Seraphim attacked you with all their strength, you would have died long ago, Jack. Vice Admiral Mole said with a smile. At this time, the pirates from the Don Quixote family who were watching the battle on the side saw that Jack the Drought was completely wiped out. They all had shocked expressions on their faces and showed extremely terrified expressions. Lord Drought was killed instantly. Those robots actually possessed the power of devil fruits. How is this possible? Although they look harmless, there's no doubt that each of these children is a complete killing machine. Why hasn't Lord Doflamingo appeared yet? Could it be that even Lord Doflamingo is afraid of these children and has run away? How are we supposed to face such a terrifying killing machine? I don't want to die. One of the pirates said in fear, his lips trembling, and he swallowed his saliva. The next moment, beams of laser light instantly filled the entire sky. Looking at the laser beams in the sky, the pirates of the Doflamingo family were completely dumbfounded. That's Admiral Kizaru's laser beam. Run, run. Looking at the dense lights in the sky, everyone was terrified to the extreme. All the pirates, with their eyes filled with deep fear, fled in panic. But how could these pirate minions be faster than light? Rumble rumble exclamation laser beams shot at the running pirates, causing violent explosions. What the entire square was filled with the wailing of pirates. Chapter 38. The sea is in turmoil. The Seven Warlords system is completely abolished in less than 10 seconds. The pirates located near the heights of the Imperial Palace were instantly wiped out. The whole world also became quiet. Jack the Drought was also handcuffed with sea stone by the Seraphim and escorted away. Vice Admiral Mole showed a suspicious look. It's strange. With such a big commotion, Doflamingo didn't show up. Vice Admiral Mole said with his eyes narrowed. Seraphim, follow my orders. Enter the palace and search for Doflamingo. If you find anyone from the Donquixote family, attack immediately. Lieutenant General Mole gave an order. All I could hear were whooshing sounds. The surrounding Seraphim instantly rushed into the huge palace again. They rushed from the bottom floor to Doflamingo's palace, but found that there was no sign of the Don Quixote family at all. Vice Admiral Mole narrowed his eyes tightly. Cunning Doflamingo, it seems he escaped. Xia Yu didn't care. Coming to Dressrosa was just a matter of convenience, regardless of whether there were any system rewards. Doflamingo just ran away. However, one has to admire that Doflamingo's power and intelligence capabilities are still very strong. That's fine. Since Doflamingo has escaped, Dressrosa is free. The Smile Factory has also been destroyed. Doflamingo's journey as a Shichibukai ends here. After saying that, Vice Admiral Mole took out a Den Mushi from his sleeve and dialed the number to the office of the Admiral of the Marine Headquarters. At this moment, Marshal Shan Guo, who was in his office, was already grinning from ear to ear. Although, according to the current news, among the 7 warlords of the sea, only Jin was arrested. However, with the help of the powerful fighting power of the Seraphim that Xia Yu studied, all the 7 warlords of the sea who were conquered, their nests have been destroyed. The number of vicious pirates arrested is countless. Now, the criminals at the bottom of the underwater prison are about to be overcrowded. The 7 warlords of the sea lost their subordinates and the territory they depended on for survival. Even if the so-called 7 warlords of the sea still existed, they were only in name. At this time, Vice Admiral Mole called. Jan Guo's eyes suddenly flashed and the corners of his mouth rose slightly. The last good news is coming. Report to Marshal Sengoku. Doflamingo has run away. The mole said dejectedly. However, Sengoku didn't look surprised. Dressrosa was such a large territory, and with Mingo's clever and cunning personality, it would be easy for him to escape. How about their territory and that damn Smile Factory? This is what the Warring States period was really worried about. Page 33. Damn Mingo. He used his identity as one of the 7 warlords of the sea to commit crimes such as stealing from the country and smuggling man-made devil fruits. If the 5 elders hadn't stopped me, I would have taken action long ago. Now that the 5 elders have finally agreed to abolish the 7 warlords' uniforms, I naturally have to deal with the Dressrosa issue properly. Report, Marshal Shan Guo. The power in Dressrosa has now been returned to its original king. Everything is a conspiracy of Doflamingo. As for the so-called Smile Factory, it has long been blasted into a pile of scrap metal by the combined laser beams of the Seraphim. Lieutenant General Mole reported truthfully. After hearing Vice Admiral Mole's report, a look of joy appeared on Jan Guo's face again. Now, we can announce the complete abolition of the 7 warlords system. Okay, great. From what we can see now, Dr. Xia Yu's Seraph is not only powerful, but also has no problems in practical ability. Say hello to Dr. Xia Yu for me. Marshal Jan Guo was very excited and then hung up the phone with relief. Now, the 7 warlords of the sea can be abolished, naturally due to the credit of the Seraph studied by Xia Yu. This basic Seraph of the Shichibukai level is already so terrifying. After Xia Yu comes over, If the general level Seraphim can figure out what they are doing, oh boy, I've waited until that time. I'm afraid that even the 4 emperors and the navy can control the sea. Having served as so many naval admirals, Jan Guo has never felt so happy as today. Garp, Vice Admiral Tsuru, and the 3 admirals on the side also asked Sengoku about the latest battle situation. The corners of Jan Guo's mouth rose slightly. The Seraphim performed very well. With the help of the Seraphim, our navy only sent a few vice admirals and subdued the 7 warlords of the sea and abolished them. Jan Guo announced with a look of excitement on his face. After hearing what Sengoku said, Garp and the others showed expressions of relief on their faces. How is it? My brother, you never disappoint me. As Xia Yu's brother, Kizaru was naturally extremely happy. My own younger brother, this really makes me proud. When the salary is paid at the end of the month, I must strive for the recommendation bonus. If my younger brother is successful, I, as his older brother, can also benefit from it. Kizaru felt secretly delighted. Garp also opened his mouth wide, his face full of excitement. Haha! I really didn't expect that. From the announcement of the order to abolish the Shichibukai, to the Shichibukai being completely abolished. It's only 3 days. Most of these 3 days were spent on the journey. Is this the efficiency of Seraph? Cap sighed. Even if I possess the strongest combat power in the navy, it is impossible for me to defeat the 7 warlords of the sea in just 3 days. These robots really make people sigh. Lieutenant General, he also narrowed his eyes slightly. Our navy is blessed with a genius like Dr. Xia Yu. I believe it won't be long before this sea becomes peaceful, Vice Admiral, he said with a smile. Until now, Lieutenant General, he still couldn't understand what was going on with Xia Yu, an 8-year-old boy, and how he could be so smart. An 8-year-old's brain was actually able to create such a terrifying killing machine. This is simply incredible. Akenu and Akiji also looked very excited. They had long been fed up with the arrogant attitude of the 7 warlords of the sea. Now, with the Seraph, the 7 warlords of the sea on the sea are completely wiped out. This is undoubtedly a great thing for them. Looking at the excited expressions of the senior naval officers around him, Jan Guo didn't say much. You all go down first. I still have to report this good news to my superiors. Afterwards, after waiting for everyone to leave, Jan Guo directly dialed the number to the 5 Elder Stars. Chapter 39 Minge escapes, contacts Kaido, and replaces the 7 warlords of the sea as a killing machine. After hanging up the phone after receiving the news from Jan Guo, the 5 old men showed excitement and excitedly discussed the Seraphim that Xia Yu was researching again. Sure enough, from this point of view, the machines of Seraph are not only powerful, but also have no problems in actual combat. The old man with long white hair stroked his beard, his face full of excitement. Since the 7 warlord system has been abolished, I believe it won't be long before we can take down even the 4 emperors. The old man holding a knife and wearing a kimono raised the corners of his mouth slightly, and was very pleased with the performance of the Seraphim. With these Seraphim, I believe that the rule of the celestial dragons will be stable for another 800 years. The old man with a mustache, his eyes flashing, also had a look of relief on his face. By the way, aren't there also Seraphim at the Admiral level? I am now looking forward to Xia Yu's arrival more and more. The blonde and sturdy old man looked expectant. I wish Xia Yu could fly over here immediately. That's a general level Seraph. Once it's mass-produced, it will be able to bring about drastic changes in this world. The curly-haired old man also spoke slightly. Before that, we have one more thing to do, said the curly-haired old man, squinting his eyes. Afterwards, one by one, mysterious men wearing masks bowed their heads respectfully and appeared in the mysterious house of the 5 elders. Master 5 elders, we are here. They all bowed to the 5 elders and the mysterious man. CP organization, go warn Doflamingo that if he doesn't want to be assassinated by the CP organization, never reveal that secret. Otherwise he will definitely die. said the curly-haired old man seriously. Afterwards, the members of the CP organization followed their orders. The next moment, several mysterious people disappeared from the sight of the 5 elders. At this time, the other 5 elder stars finally reacted. That guy Doflamingo unexpectedly didn't die in this big CJ. I hope that Joker guy can take care of himself. Otherwise, it will do him absolutely no good. The cold murderous intent instantly filled the entire house in the new world, inside a dilapidated house somewhere. Doflamingo, Treball, and other senior officials of Don Quixote were breathing heavily. Caesar, I didn't expect that you, a fellow, would escape as well. While fleeing, Don Quixote and his companions were surprised to find that Caesar had also escaped. Fortunately, I have a special escape device I developed in my laboratory, otherwise I would be dead. Those little robots are so scary, Caesar said with an exaggerated expression. Caesar, who is also a scientist, still refuses to believe that those amazing robots were actually developed by an 8-year-old kid. This kid's ability in scientific research has surpassed mine. Wrong. Not only did he surpass himself, he could even be said to have surpassed Vegapunk. Xia Yu, that kid is simply a technology fanatic. Caesar sighed for a moment. Little Lord, those robots actually have your abilities. Not only you, they have the abilities of all the 7 warlords of the sea, Treball said in horror with a runny nose. Yes. Fortunately, young master, you stopped us at the beginning, otherwise the consequences would be unimaginable, Pika said in shock. Diamante also had an exaggerated expression. I really can't understand what's going on in that 8-year-old kid's head. It is actually possible to create such a terrifying robot. Diamante looked incredulous. It was obvious that Torpal and the highest-ranking officials of the Don Quixote family had not yet recovered from the shock and terror they had experienced before. Doflamingo's forehead veins bulged out. Before, he had been chased by Lieutenant General He like a stray dog. That's why I wanted to become the king of a country. Now that I'm king, I never expected that after such a short time, I would be back to my old days of hiding. Moreover, this time, it seems to be even more miserable than before. Those robots are so powerful. No one can say for sure whether other navies still have those robots now. There's only one place left in this entire ocean, Doflamingo said viciously, gritting his teeth. Afterwards, the cotters of the Don Quixote family around them fell silent, because they know that next, the young master will contact a very powerful person, one of the 4 emperors of the New World, Kaido the Beast. Page 34. Only the power of the 4 emperors can now resist the attack of the 7 warlords of the Sea Seraph. Bulu Bulu on Onigashima, Kaido the Beast was drinking wine in big gulps. Hearing the sound of Den Den Mushi, Kaido looked over with a dazed look in his eyes. This is Joker's phone number. He must have completed the artificial devil fruit deal and came here to announce the good news. Joker, you are so weak, but you are very much to my liking. You are a natural businessman. Hey, Joker, how are you? Ha ha ha, Kaido said with a big laugh. However, there was a brief silence on the other end of the phone for a few seconds, and Kaido looked confused. What is happening? Doflamingo doesn't seem like the type to hesitate when speaking. What's wrong? Joker, is there something wrong with this transaction? Kaido raised his eyebrows and said in confusion. Even Doflamingo broke out in a cold sweat on his back. Even a hero like Doflamingo is afraid of the most powerful creature in this world. Mr. Kaido Navy attacked me. Kaido looks confused. Navy? Aren't you one of the 7 warlords of the sea? Why did they attack you? The Navy has recently developed a powerful killing machine that can replace us Shichibukai. The Shichibukai system is no longer necessary for those bastards in the Navy. Okay. Kaido frowned slightly. A killing machine to replace the 7 warlords of the sea. Chapter 40. Kaido is furious and flies straight to the Navy headquarters. It is probably an upgraded version of the pacifist. If it were mass-produced, it would indeed be a threat to the rule of the 7 warlords of the sea. Wait, if that's the case, Dressrosa is no longer safe. I had asked Doflamingo to join my beast's pirates a long time ago, but this guy just wouldn't listen. Now, do you regret it? You won't be safe there. Joker, lead your Smile Factory and Jack back to join my beast's pirates, Kaido said with squinted eyes. I heard what Kaido said. Doflamingo felt embarrassed for a moment. I also plan to join our beast's pirates, but the Smile Factory has been destroyed. Just now, those killing machines called Seraphs have liberated my entire country, Doflamingo said embarrassedly. Okay? Exclamation before, Kaido, the king of beasts, had frowned slightly, but after hearing Doflamingo's words, he instantly widened his eyes and looked ferocious. The Smile Factory was destroyed by the Navy. Damn the Navy. Rebuilding the Smile Factory doesn't matter how much Baileys it costs. But this will greatly delay the construction speed of the endowed core. Inside Onigashima, Kaido, the king of beasts, roared. Dark clouds appeared over the ghost island, and the atmosphere around it seemed very strange. The local navy, my beast's pirates, will take note of this. Joker, hurry up and come here with Jack. If it's your case, I can consider giving you the position of the fourth disaster, Kaido said angrily, gritting his teeth. Kaido still values Doflamingo very much. However, contrary to Kaido's expectations, Doflamingo did not immediately say any words of thanks. Kaido finally realized the problem. It seems not that simple. Is there any more bad news? After a few seconds of silence, Doflamingo finally spoke slowly. Lord Kaido. Jack, he was also defeated by those Seraph killing machines of the Navy right now. He should be being escorted to the underwater prison, Doflamingo said with a wry smile. What? Exclamation after hearing Doflamingo's words, Kaido, who had been holding back, finally exploded. Even his own subordinate Jack was defeated by that damn robot called Seraph? Will I be sent to the underwater prison? That's one of the three main figures of my beast's pirates. The Navy is giving me a little face and has no intention of leaving any for me. Kaido's forehead was instantly covered with blue veins, and the mace in his hand made a crackling sound from time to time. Above the sky, due to the influence of Kaido's powerful and violent aura, bolts of lightning kept falling from the dark clouds. Boom! Exclamation rumble asshole. What kind of bullshit sea overlord can kill me? I, Kaido, will never be done with you. Jack, wait for me to save you, Kaido roared at the top of his head. The angry Kaido tightly gripped the mace in his hand, and lightning kept striking the mace, adding a bit of fierceness. Without any hesitation, the angry Kaido vented his anger towards the surroundings. Rumble! Exclamation rumble! The furniture and wine jars in the Oni skull house were smashed into ruins by Kaido. The powerful destructive force caused the ground within a radius of 10 kilometers to tremble at this moment. Doppelganger and the senior officials of the Don Quixote family were in the dilapidated house. Although thousands of miles away, they could still feel Kaido's ferocious look. Cold sweat appeared on everyone's back without them noticing. Doflamingo didn't even dare to utter a single word, for fear of angering the man on the other end of the phone. Kaido is one of the people he fears. Kaido, who was on Onigashima, smashed everything around him and finally vented his anger. Then he continued and spoke to Doflamingo. Who created the Seraph? I'm going to kill him myself, Kaido said with sinister eyes. Doflamingo's lips trembled slightly. I have already found out who created Seraph. It's a doctor named Xia Yu from the Navy, Doflamingo replied truthfully. Xia Yu? Kaido looked confused. Originally, I thought that this was most likely done by Vegapunk. Who would have thought that there would be such a person in the Navy? Xia Yu? What are his characteristics? Kaido looked confused. His characteristics are very obvious, because Xia Yu is an 8-year-old kid, Doflamingo said with a wry smile. What? 8-year-old kid? An 8-year-old kid who was researching some crappy Seraphim defeated Jack. This time, the beast's pirates lost face, but it was a big loss. Kaido, enraged and humiliated, finally couldn't hold back any longer and his body expanded rapidly. Finally, he forcibly transformed into a terrifying blue dragon covering the sky and the sun, extremely ferocious. Then, he flew directly towards Marineford. Page 35. See you, I must kill you. Navy, you've probably forgotten how terrifying I am, haven't you? Even if you can capture me and execute me, you can't kill me. There was thunder and lightning in the sky. At this time, Quinn, who was in Wano country, saw Kaido in the sky and his eyes flew up. Oh no, Lord Kaido, is he going to commit suicide again? Lord Kaido, where are you going? Quinn on the ground shouted. Hearing Quinn's voice, his pupils, as big as lanterns, looked at the ground. Just a few words, and the earth was blown away by the strong wind. Ho, I'm going to the Navy headquarters and kill Xia Yu. Rescue Jack. No one can stop me. Then, Kaido increased his flying speed, and in just a moment he left his original place and flew a distance of dozens of kilometers. This is the terrifying thing about the Azure Dragon form. Quinn, who was in the quarry in Wano country, was completely dumbfounded. Brother Jack was arrested. Xia Yu, who is Xia Yu? I don't understand anything. However, the only thing I can be sure of is that Lord Kaido is about to cause trouble at the Marine headquarters again. Chapter 41. Seraph becomes famous, shocks the world. At this time, the members of Don Quixote's family were in a broken corner. Although he had hung up the phone, he was still in a state of panic. Torpal was so scared that his nose was running. Young master, fortunately, Kaido did not blame us, otherwise I feel that Kaido is even more terrifying than those Seraphim. Torpal said in horror. Yeah, I feel like Kaido is really angry this time. Even through the den mushi, I can feel the terrifying pressure of being one of the 4 emperors. Diamante was still in shock. Of course. Now, the Navy is going to be in big trouble, Pika said in a loud voice. Doflamingo wiped the sweat from his forehead. This time, that little brat named Xia Yu is going to be in trouble. This is what happens to you for attacking my smile factory, Doflamingo said coldly. With his understanding of Kaido, he has an invincible defense. Even if he is beaten half to death by Garp and his men, he will definitely kill Xia Yu at this moment. Several mysterious people suddenly appeared behind Doflamingo, each wearing a mask, looking extremely weird. By the time he noticed them, these people had already appeared behind Doflamingo, less than 2 meters away. Such a terrifying close combat ability made even Doflamingo break out in a cold sweat. You are CP organization, Doflamingo said, narrowing his eyes tightly. Don't be nervous, Doflamingo, we are not here to assassinate you this time. However, there is something we need to tell you at the same time. In Dressrosa, after the Navy retreated, an albatross suddenly appeared in a ruined area, and then it directly turned into a half-human, half-bird. This person is none other than Morgans, a well-known figure in the underground world known as the King of News. He has white feathers all over his body, a broad tail, and a black top hat, dressed like a gentleman. Ha ha ha. As soon as he came out, Morganus burst into laughter. Great! Such important news was actually caught by me. Jack the Drought of the Beast's pirates was defeated and taken away by some robots. The popularity of this news will undoubtedly have an explosive effect. Morgans laughed. As the president of the World Economic News Agency, Morgan's main task is to shoot news from all over the country, produce newspapers, and send them to the world. This time I just happened to capture such a big event. Morgans was naturally in a very happy mood. At this time, Morgan's den mushi also rang. What? The Devil's Delta was attacked by childlike robots. 9 Snake Island was also attacked in the same way. Was it attacked by some child robots? More and more information is transmitted from the den mushi from time to time. Morgan's eyes suddenly grew serious. Only then did he realize that the Dressrosa incident wasn't just a one-time occurrence, but it was premeditated. The 7 warlords of the sea around the world are being attacked by the Navy and unidentified child robots. From this perspective, this attack is most likely aimed at the 7 warlords of the sea. Dressrosa's Drought Jack, isn't he just a scapegoat? Morgan's analysis of the current events was very clear and logical. Since the Navy is abolishing the Shichibukai, this is big news. From this perspective, the entire pattern of the ocean seems to be about to change. Morgan said in shock. Then, with his own ability, a huge hot air balloon formed by many birds appeared directly in the sky. Morgan's jumped up and jumped into the hot air balloon. Ha ha ha. The more chaotic this world becomes, the more money our World Economic News Agency can make. Tomorrow, my newspaper will be sent to the whole world. It will definitely be a huge hit. Morgan's, who was on the hot air balloon, said excitedly. Day 2. In the New World, on the huge Moby carrier, Pigeon dropped the newspaper. Marco took the newspaper and stroked his pineapple hair, looking lazy. Let's see what news will come out today. I don't know if it will be as boring as the past few days. There really is nothing to write about. A few pirates with over 100 million in wealth appeared, and they were hyped up. Marco took the newspaper and took a look, and was completely shocked. This is the 7 warlords of the sea around the world were surrounded. From then on, there were no more 7 warlords of the sea in this world. Marco's eyes suddenly lit up, his pupils shrank, and the lazy aura disappeared in an instant. This is no small matter. Above the sea, one of the 3 major balancing forces is the 7 warlords of the sea. Now if the 7 warlords of the sea are abolished, only the Navy and the 4 emperors, 2 opposing forces, will remain on the ocean. This is a major event. Is the world going to be turned upside down? Then, Marco, holding the newspaper in his hand, rushed directly towards Whitebeard. Whitebeard, who was stretching lazily in the middle of the ship, was surprised to see Marco in such a hurry. Such panic, could it be news about Ace? Ace has been out of contact for several days. Marco, what's the news? Why are you so panicked? Is it about Ace? Whitebeard asked with narrowed eyes. Dad, although this news is not about Ace, it is really a big event, Marco said solemnly. Jaws, Bista and others who had just woken up were all stunned. Considering Marco's personality, it must be no small matter for him to care so much about it. What is going on, Marco? What makes you so nervous? Kyozi asked in confusion. See for yourselves. Chapter 42. I'm afraid the sea is about to change. Chapter 42 Category. We also want to create Seraphim. After saying that, Marco handed over the newspaper in his hand. After seeing the newspaper written by Morgan's, Whitebeard, Jaws and Vista were all shocked. What? The 7 warlords system was abolished. Jaws widened his eyes and said in disbelief. The 7 warlords of the sea system existed for far too long now. It can be abolished just like that. Jaws was still very surprised. Look, everyone has been defeated by robots. Look at these photos. These little robots, they look almost like the Shichibukai when they were little. Vista, noticing the clue, gave a reminder. The others looked at the photo carefully, and sure enough these Seraph robots all had wings, just like the childlike 7 warlords of the sea. So the reason the Navy was able to abolish the 7 warlords of the sea was all thanks to these little robots. These little robots are able to wipe out the former 7 warlords' lairs and replace them. Their strength is probably terrifying, Marco explained with narrowed eyes. Gulu captains such as Jaws looked solemn and began to swallow their saliva. What does this mean? The Whitebeard pirates naturally know better than anyone else. It would be fine if they just surrounded and wiped out one of the 7 warlords of the sea, but this time, the Navy actually surrounded and wiped out all of the 7 warlords of the sea at once. That proves that the combined power of these little robots has surpassed one of the 3 major forces in the ocean. In other words, the Navy that the 4 emperors are facing now is even more powerful than the 2 major forces combined. Now, the status of the 4 emperors is in danger. Whitebeard also had a serious look on his face and fell into deep thought. It was a turbulent time now, with no news from Ace and the Navy becoming so powerful. Whitebeard always feels that something bad is about to happen. According to the content of this newspaper, it turns out that he was created by an 8-year-old kid. Isn't this some nonsense? Jaws asked with a puzzled look on his face as he watched the news. But Jaws, the World Economic News Agency is considered the most powerful news agency on the ocean. You shouldn't talk nonsense and ruin your own reputation, Marco said seriously. Jaws, Vista, and others were also shocked and looked strange when they heard it. An 8-year-old scientist? This brain hasn't even fully developed yet it's able to create such a terrifying robot. This terrifying talent is probably even better than Vegapunk, right? This is actually true. An 8-year-old kid with an 8-year-old brain can actually create a killing machine. The corners of Jaws' mouth twitched. Vista also had a strange expression and smacked his lips. This is a bit too much unbelievable at the age of 8. He surpassed Vegapunk, the guy who was 500 years ahead of human technology. If this kid's brain develops in the future, won't he be the most powerful scientist since the emergence of mankind? Jaws and others felt that the world suddenly had a dreamy feeling. A few days ago, they thought that their own Whitebeard pirates could cause a big commotion even if they faced the entire Marine headquarters. Looking at it now, it seems very difficult. After all, a killing machine that can abolish the entire Seven Warlords system must have terrifyingly high combat power. Whitebeard finally spoke. It's hard to believe, though. However, the basic content of Morgan's newspaper cannot be false. In this case, I'm afraid the sea will become even more turbulent. In the New World, Cake Island, the news from Morgan's was also received immediately. Different from the Whitebeard pirates, Morgan's is a permanent attendee of Bigman's Tea Party and has always maintained a cooperative relationship with Bigman. Therefore, Big Mom can know the truth of the whole news directly from Morgan's. What, Morgause, such an outrageous thing is actually true? An 8-year-old kid actually created such a terrifying killing machine? Why, there is no such intelligent person in my family. After hanging up the phone, Big Mom started the family meeting without any hesitation. When Bigman announced the news he got from Morgan's, all the members of the Charlotte family were completely excited one by one. They started having heated discussions. Are there really such terrifying robots in this world? Not only does he possess the 6 styles of the Navy, he also possesses Haki and Devil Fruit abilities, which only humans can master. This is too horrible and too exaggerated, Prospero said in shock, his eyes wide open. Defeating one of the Shichibukai wouldn't be surprising, but he actually defeated all of them in one fell swoop. This power is so strong that its scary Cracker swallowed his saliva and said seriously. Now Cracker finally understood why his mother had been trying to win over the Vinsmoke family. The power of these technologies is far beyond my imagination. Such a terrifying power is now controlled by the Navy. This is not a good thing, Smoothie said with her red lips trembling slightly. Katakuri, looking at the news in the newspaper, remained silent for a long time. Although Katakuri didn't say anything, the shock in his heart was no less than that of his brothers and sisters. With his high IQ, he understands more clearly what the abolition of the 7 warlords of the sea means. As we all know, there are 3 major forces in this ocean, restraining each other. Therefore, the ocean can maintain temporary stability. Once any of the 3 major forces is eliminated, the sea is no longer calm. The other 2 surviving forces will directly put each other on opposite sides, and turmoil and war are inevitable. And now the 7 warlords of the sea are surrounded and the 4 emperors and the Navy are facing a situation of absolute confrontation. Now the Navy has acquired such a terrifying killing machine, it is almost impossible for the 4 emperors to defeat the Navy again. Katakuri, what do you think? Seeing that Katakuri didn't speak, Big Mom asked. Katakuri was silent again for a few seconds, then his lips moved slightly. Mom, I think the current status of the 4 emperors is very dangerous. At any time, there is a danger of being swallowed up by the Navy, so I think that the 4 emperors' pirate groups in the future must unite and form a group, or create the same robots in order to maintain their status, Katakuri said seriously. Chapter 43, Inviting the Vinsmoke family to discuss technological matters. After a little thought, Big Mom nodded. As expected of the Emperor's vice-chairman, he was impeccable in both combat capability and IQ. As for joining forces with the other 4 emperors, I can't bring myself to do this for the time being, but I can use the power of technology. Follow my orders. Be sure to invite the Vinsmoke family members over and tell them I want to treat them to tea. Be careful, you must be polite to them, said the ant, squinting her eyes. As one of Big Mom's 4 emperors, their combat effectiveness is at the bottom among all the 4 emperors groups. But Big Mom's 4 emperors have certain advantages in economy, culture, and even technology. This is also one of the important reasons why Big Mom's group can become one of the 4 emperors' pirate groups a few hours later. Vinsmoke, the highest representative judge, led his children, Ryuju, Iji and others to Big Mom's conference room. For the Big Mom pirates, this powerful support, the Vinsmoke family is naturally keen to cooperate with them. Seeing that almost all the top leaders of the Big Mom pirates were present, Vinsmoke Judge narrowed his eyes. Page 37. Ha ha ha. Big Mom, what is it that makes you take it so seriously? Vinsmoke asked puzzledly. Mum. I've been waiting for you for a long time, my old friend, Judge. Let's not talk about business first. Try the dessert I prepared for you, the ant said cheerfully. Then, at the ant's command, a group of beautiful waitresses, carrying plates, went directly to the cake island, where the most sumptuous food and wine were served. Even in order to give the Vinsmoke family the highest etiquette, the ant's children all personally served tea and wine for Jiaji and others. Iji, Yangji and others felt excited when they received such high-level treatment. Haha. I've already told my dad that there's no need to be afraid of the Big Mom pirates. Our Vinsmoke family is the strongest. Really? Big Mom, have they realized this and started to please us? Ha ha ha. Jiaji, I wonder if you are satisfied with this treatment? Big Mom said with a smile. Ha ha ha. Big Mom, you are so polite, Jiaji said with a smile on his face. Of course, as the highest leader of the Vinsmoke family, he didn't think that Big Mom was trying to please him. There must be another reason. Until we had eaten and drunk our fill, the Vinsmoke guys wiped their mouths one by one. Jiaji finally spoke. Big Mom, now you can explain why you called us here, right? Jiaji narrowed his eyes and asked in confusion. Then, the ant snapped her fingers and a maid brought a newspaper and placed it in front of the Vinsmoke guys, one for each of them. You all should take a good look at it. I have asked the president of the World Economic News, and this matter is absolutely true, Big Mom said with her eyes narrowed tightly. After seeing the information in the newspaper, the Vinsmoke family was shocked. What? The 7 warlords of the sea system has been abolished, Vinsmoke Ryuju said in disbelief, slightly opening her red lips. The 7 warlords of the sea system has existed in this world for such a long time. Naturally, it has its rationality. This is one of the 3 major forces on the sea now. It's abolished just like that. This can be called a major event. Continue browsing. The 7 warlords of the sea are actually robots. When Vinsmoke Yanjai saw the name of Seraph, he stood up from his seat in surprise. Speaking of robots, the Vinsmoke family is good at creating technological humans. For technologists alone, there are many technical challenges. This kind of powerful pure robot is even more difficult. The guy who made this robot is definitely a technology maniac. As he continued browsing, Iji felt his scalp tingling. I saw Iji swallowing his saliva frantically. This is impossible, father. This is simply impossible. Look. It says on it that these robots actually possess haki and the power of top-level devil fruits. How on earth is it done? Even Vegapunk can't do this now. The key point is, it says here that this genius, rare to come across in thousands of years, is actually an 8-year-old kid. Iji's eyes widened, his expression exaggerated to the extreme. Iji, at this moment, just felt a little dizzy. My own worldview has become a little confused. Ryuju, Yuji, and the others widened their eyes and kept swallowing their saliva. The 8-year-old kid, whether in the creation of robots, the development of devil fruit abilities, or domineering, it's far beyond the Vinsmoke family. Yes, far beyond. The Vinsmoke family had previously considered giving their clones the power of inherent dominance, but all ended in failure. I didn't expect that an 8-year-old kid could actually do it. Jiaji also frowned slightly. Although I still can't figure out how this 8-year-old kid was created, however, one thing is certain. This news cannot be false. Big Mom's intelligence ability is the strongest among the 4 emperors. Judge narrowed his eyes tightly. So, Big Mom, your purpose, you just want us to create this terrifying robot? After hearing what Judge said, Big Mom burst out laughing. Sure enough, talking to smart people is easy. Chapter 44 Vegapunk. Isn't this the Seraph I was going to study? Mum. You're right, Judge. How's it going? With your technology, it should be possible to create this robot, right? Let's cooperate. I will find all the materials for you, said the ant excitedly. That's a powerful killing machine that can defeat the 7 warlords of the sea, one of the 3 great powers of the sea. It's impossible for Big Mom not to be tempted. These terrifying robots are much more convenient and powerful than giving birth yourself. After hearing Big Mom's assurance, Vinsmoke Gage's brows didn't relax. The material problem is just one of them. There are so many technical points involved. Hacky, specific devil fruits, and physical skills are all top-notch. Moreover, they are complete robots, not simple clones of the Vinsmoke family. It also raises the technical difficulty to a higher level. Big Mom, I'll be honest with you. Even if I have the materials, it's still very difficult to create these robots out of thin air. Just when Big Mom showed a disappointed expression, Judge narrowed his eyes slightly. But if you have some remnants of Seraph, I think, through the cloning technology of our Vinsmoke family, maybe we can really research it, Judge said with his eyes suddenly shining. I really don't know how to create something so clever. But if I let myself imitate with all the years of experience in cloning technology, maybe there is hope. Don't say anything else. When it comes to cloning technology alone, the Vinsmoke family dares to claim first place, and no one dares to claim second place. Of course, the ant is also aware of this. Otherwise, as one of the 4 emperors, he wouldn't have been obsessed with the Vinsmoke family's technology, especially their family's clone soldiers, who are 50 times stronger than ordinary soldiers. And this terrifying combat suit can turn ordinary people into superhuman beings. This is the terrifying technological power of the Vinsmoke family. The corners of Big Mom's mouth curved slightly. Mum. The remnants of the Seraph? Not at the moment. But don't worry, with the strength of our Big Mom pirates, it shouldn't be difficult to get it. When the time comes, you can clone with peace of mind. Our pirate group will cover all the expenses and materials for you, said the ant generously. Page 38. Big Mom naturally has her own reasons for this. If these robots could really be cloned by that time, if I can produce dozens of cherubim, there is no doubt that they will become the most powerful pirate group on the sea. At that time, white beard and red hair will be of no use. I will also achieve my goal and become the pirate king. After hearing the ant's assurance, Jiaji also raised his wine glass. Then, I wish us a happy cooperation in the future. In the new world, on the sea, the members of the Red Hair Pirates gathered together. An intelligence soldier quickly came to red-haired Shanks. Report, Captain Shanks. We have news on the matter about the Seraph you asked us to investigate. Afterwards, Shanks, Mihawk, and the others directly opened the latest newspaper. After seeing the newspaper, Mihawk narrowed his eyes tightly. It seems that what the Navy said is true. It's not just me who's been attacked by the Seraph. From this perspective, all the 7 warlords of the sea were attacked. Navy, how many Seraphim do they have? Hawkeye Mihawk sighed. Even though he was the world's greatest swordsman, he still felt a lingering fear when he thought of the terrifying fighting power of those 2 Seraphim. After hearing Mihawk's analysis, Jesus Boo, Beckman, and others around him were also shocked. With so many Seraphim, their power cannot be underestimated. Will it affect our rule? Shanks Beckman took a puff of his cigarette, the air filled with smoke, and looked at Shanks solemnly and said, "Yeah, boss Shanks, what should we do next?" Lakaloo said worriedly with a hint of sadness in his small eyes. Red-haired Shanks looked at the sea, narrowed his eyes slightly, and fell into a brief silence. Finally, he slowly opened his mouth. Since these Seraphim can even defeat one of the three major forces on the sea, these terrifying killing machines are bound to affect us so recently. Before we fully understand these Seraphim, don't act rashly, Shanks said solemnly. Then, he looked towards the sea and felt emotional again. Xia Yu, the genius who created this seraph, I'm afraid his technological level has far exceeded that of the world's #1 scientist, Vegapunk. Red-haired Shanks said in shock. The other cotters, upon hearing Shanks's comments, all swallowed hard, their saliva. Vegapunk, that monster is said to be 500 years ahead of the world in technology, and Xia Yu, who is only 8 years old, has surpassed him. If that's the case, then Xia Yu is probably a monster among monsters. On Future Island at this time, in the mysterious laboratory, a short and fat old man had just completed the upgrade and strengthening of the pacifist. This is the world where Vegapunk is known as the world's #1 scientist. After completing all this, Vegapunk was very proud of his own intelligence and talent. Haha. In this case, the pacifists are even more powerful than before. The Navy, they will definitely be very happy when they know about my improvements. This time a large amount of funds will support me again. Vegapunk, his mouth is grinning to the sky at this time. A man-made robot took out a newspaper and handed it to Vegapunk after seeing the powerful battle results of Seraph. Vegapunk was completely stunned, his mouth wide open, unable to close for a long time. Using bloodline factors, a powerful robot with domineering and devil fruit is cultivated. Isn't this what I'm planning to research? However, due to some technological difficulties, there has been no breakthrough. If you want to make a breakthrough, it will take at least 1 or 2 years. When did this Xia Yu appear? When I saw Xia Yu's age, he was only 8 years old. Vegapunk's eyes widened, and his expression was exaggerated to the extreme. Impossible, absolutely impossible. 8 years old? He's only 8 years old, and he's actually better than me in scientific research. Vegapunk, standing still, roared. The whole person is also completely emo. Chapter 45. Vegapunk is jealous. I am the world's #1 scientist. I have always considered myself a genius, and I have always believed that humans today are too stupid and no one can understand the innovative ideas in my head. My brain is 500 years ahead of the world. That's not an exaggeration at all. Therefore, I have always been looking forward to the appearance of a highly intelligent person to communicate with me. But now, there appears a guy who is not stupid, but he is smarter than me. This almost drove Vegapunk crazy. Impossible. In terms of technological level, there is no one in this world who can surpass me. It must be the Navy making up fake news. This is so boring. I must get to the bottom of this matter. An hour later, Vegapunk appeared at the Marine headquarters. Even facing the Navy's Grand Marshal Sengoku, Vegapunk did not show any fear. Jan-Guo, the latest upgraded version of pacifist, has been developed. Each one only costs 200 million Baileys. How many does the Navy plan to manufacture? Vegapunk asked confidently. Unexpectedly, facing the world's #1 scientist, Jan-Guo lost his previous flattering expression. Are you kidding me? Now the Navy has developed top-level killing robots, which can even kill the 7 warlords of the sea. You Vegapunk don't know. Why don't you read more news? You don't need one. Vegapunk, those robots of yours are cheap, but they're so useless. How about changing it to a Shichibukai Seraph that costs 20 billion each? Wouldn't that be great? After all, even though they are expensive, a Seraph can easily defeat 100 of your upgraded pacifists. This is 10 times the cost-effectiveness, Jan-Guo said, waving his hand. What? If that's the case, it's not a rumor. Did that kid named Xia Yu really create such a terrifying killing machine? How did he overcome those technical difficulties? Vegapunk, I'm starting to doubt my life. Jan-Guo, tell me that kid Xia Yu, where is he? Vegapunk, very excited, shouted. Jan-Guo frowned slightly. What does this Vegapunk want from Xia Yu? But don't let your jealousy of Xia Yu affect Dr. Xia Yu's research and development of Seraph. Xia Yu is currently out on a mission and hasn't returned yet. But I tell you, don't disturb Dr. Xia Yu. Now, even the 5 elders are waiting for Xia Yu's next research, Yan Guo said seriously. What's next? Page 39. Haven't those Seraphim been studied? He even defeated the 7 warlords of the sea. He must have reached perfection. What will the next step be in researching? Vegapunk showed a surprised expression at this. Xia Yu, do you still want to do research? What is that? Vegapunk asked with a puzzled look on his face. In Jan Guo's eyes, a ray of light flashed. That's a general-level Seraph. Its combat capability can directly reach the level of a general. Once this research is completed, the improvement in our Navy's combat effectiveness will undoubtedly be unprecedented. When that time comes, I'm afraid we will be able to shake even the 4 emperors in the sea. Jan Guo said excitedly. What? A general-level Seraph? Exclamation. Vegapunk widened his eyes and showed an exaggerated expression. Originally I was already very surprised that an 8-year-old kid could create a Seraph of the Shichibukai level. Now, Jan Guo actually told him that there are Seraphim at the general level. What on earth is going on with Xia Yu's head? So, Vegapunk, if there's nothing else, please don't disturb Dr. Xia Yu. Jan Guo narrowed his eyes and said. After hearing what Sengoku said, Vegapunk was very angry. You know, just a few days ago, Jan Guo was very respectful when he saw me. The purpose, of course, is to produce more of the pacifists that they developed. But now that I have a better robot developed by Xia Yu, I actually treat myself like this. I am the world's #1 scientist. You actually told me not to bother an 8-year-old kid. Humph. The angry Vegapunk just shook his sleeves and left. I must prove to you that I, Vegapunk, am the smartest person in the world. Just wait, you will all regret it. On the second day, with the arrival of a warship, the entire Navy was in an uproar. It's Xia Yu, Dr. Xia Yu is back. Look, on the Navy's warship, there are Ace the Fire Fist and Jack the Drought. These 2 are famous pirates in the New World. Professor Xia Yu is worthy of his name. Of course. Don't you see, when Dr. Xia Yu went out to complete the mission, the equipment around him, wow, that's 10 Seraphim. On the sea, even the 4 emperors would have no choice but to flee when faced with a formation of 10 Seraphs. Dr. Xia Yu, this brain is simply terrifying. At the age of 8, he can create a war machine that rivals the 7 warlords of the sea. I wonder how much casualties this invention can save our Navy and how many families it can protect. The sailors said excitedly one by one. These days, good news has been coming from the Navy one after another. They are naturally very clear that the credit for so many victories lies with the Seraphim. Xia Yu, who created these Seraphim, naturally became their object of worship. Mole, Xia Yu and others walked on the land of Marineford, and the attention of all the Navy was attracted. Seeing the scene, Ace was shocked. These Navy men's eyes were filled with deep admiration for this 8-year-old kid. Lieutenant General Mole also looked very proud. Although these admiring eyes were all directed at Xia Yu, but now he was walking with Xia Yu. What's more important is that it was a task that Xia Yu and he completed together. Therefore, Lieutenant General Mole was also extremely proud and felt like a returning hero at this moment. After hearing the news of Xia Yu's return, the senior executives such as Jan Guo in the naval building could no longer sit still. Everyone had an expectant look on their face, and they activated their abilities one by one, running quickly towards Xia Yu. According to what Xia Yu said before he left, today is the day when the Admiral-level Seraphim will appear. Not long after, the senior naval officials arrived in front of Vice Admiral Mole and others. Marshal Jan Guo, according to your instructions, Fire Fist Ace and Drought Jack have been brought here and await your decision. Vice Admiral Mole reported. Behind the Mole were Ace the Fire Fist and Jack the Drought, both bound in seastone shackles. Jan Guo said 3 good words in a row. Take them to the underwater prison, but there's no rush. Then Jianguo looked at Xia Yu, who was standing beside him. Doctor. Xia Yu, based on what you said before you left, do you think a general-level Seraphim has been produced? Jianguo said to Xia Yu with a flattering smile. Chapter 46, General-level Seraph appears. If an Admiral-level Seraph could come into being, the Navy would be able to capture as many Ace and Jack as they wanted. The Navy's top priority now is naturally to detect the Admiral-level Seraphim, and Jianguo is quite clear about this. Garp, the three admirals, Vice Admiral Kizaru, and others who were standing behind Sengoku also had a look of anticipation on their faces. Now, they put down what they were doing and came to see Xia Yu. The main purpose, in fact, is to see the Admiral-level Seraphim. The last time, the Seraphim of the Shichibukai level really made them shine. Now will the general-level Seraphim be just as dazzling, or will it fail? Everyone is looking forward to this result. After hearing these words, the expression on Fire Fist Ace's face, who was bound by Seastone, became extremely exaggerated. Originally, the crushing of Blackbeard and Jack the Drought by the Seraph, a Seven Warlords of the Sea, was already shocking enough. Nowadays you actually said there are Seraphim at the general level. Drought Jack also had a look of shock on his face. A general-level Seraph? Doesn't this mean that these robots can reach the combat power of a general? This kind of thing, how is it possible? I see. Actually, an Admiral-level Seraphim has already been created in the Petri dish. Since you want to see an Admiral-level Seraphim first, fine. Then let you take a look at the General-level Seraphim first. That's perfect. I'll lead the Admiral-level Seraphim and take Ace, Jack, and the others to the underwater prison, Xia Yu said in a baby voice. After hearing Xia Yu's answer, senior naval officials such as Jianguo were all delighted. Drought, Ace, and others looked skeptical. Have they really figured it out? Just like that, everyone walked directly towards Xia Yu's laboratory with anticipation. At the entrance of the Marine headquarters, the Science Department, and Xia Yu's specialized laboratory, Sengoku, Akenu, Kizaru, and others were pacing non-stop. I hope it can be developed successfully, Jianguo said nervously. Other high-ranking naval officers were also looking forward to it. If an Admiral-level Seraph can be successfully developed, I will lead them to defeat all the pirates on this sea, even if you are a Four Emperor. Vice Admiral, he narrowed his eyes, his heart also in turmoil. Even Garp was rubbing his hands in anticipation. Looking at the expressions of the Navy's top brass, Ace and Jack were also curious. The high-ranking naval officials are so looking forward to the Admiral-level Seraphim. Could it be that Xia Yu can really create one? Finally, with a creaking sound, the door to the laboratory was opened. Then, an 8-year-old kid came out with a smile on his face. Now, with an Admiral-level Seraphim, it wouldn't be too much to get another 100 billion Baileys in funding. Xia Yu's mouth corners slightly raised, thinking in his heart. Did you make it? Seeing Xia Yu's smile, Jianguo and others asked anxiously. They didn't know whether it was successful or not, because only Xia Yu came out, and there were no other Seraphim appearing with him. You guys are really too impatient, Uncle Jianguo. Seraphim, come out, Xia Yu said with a smile. Page 40. Next moment suddenly, yellow spots of light shot out from inside the laboratory and gathered outside the laboratory, behind Xia Yu. Seeing this scene, Kizaru widened his eyes and moved his lips slightly. Isn't it my element of light? Could it be? Before he could finish his words, those yellow dots of light had already gathered together and finally formed the shape of a middle-aged human. Finally, after a burst of light, the image of a seraph suddenly appeared in everyone's sight. The characteristic flames of the Lunalia family, the gray skin, and the huge black wings behind everyone opened their mouths wide in surprise. Isn't this a Kizaru with black wings? Jianguo exclaimed. Kizaru was completely stunned. Looking at the Seraphim who looked exactly like him, Kizaru's lips twitched. You really are my biological brother, Xia Yu, Kizaru said embarrassedly. Thinking about it, Kizaru felt a little embarrassed that he was mistaken for a robot. Ha ha ha. Don't worry about these details. Yellow monkey brother. After all, this was developed mainly based on your bloodline factors. In the future, when I have more bloodline genes, I will look like Akinu brother, Aokiji brother, and Sengoku uncle Xia Yu explained cutely. Hearing these words, Kizaru felt more balanced. Let's not talk about this for now. How strong is this Seraph in combat? Xia Yu, can you show us? Zhang Guo asked curiously. After all, for Zhang Guo, as a robot, it doesn't matter who he looks like. The most important thing for me is naturally my combat effectiveness. Of course, no problem, Uncle Zhang Guo. First, let me introduce myself to you all. In order to distinguish his name from that of the Seven Warlords of the Sea, Seraph Kizaru, this robot has his own name, called Yellow Flash. Alright, Yellow Flash. Show your basic abilities first. Xia Yu ordered. The next moment, the yellow flash flew directly into the sky in an instant, like a flash of light. Seeing the speed of the yellow flash, Zhang Guo was filled with emotion. As expected, he is worthy of being a general-level Seraphim. His speed, even I can't catch up with him. This speed is completely comparable to Kizaru. Kizaru's expression also changed slightly. My lovely brother, how on earth did you do that? He actually completely possessed my speed. Originally, I was known as the fastest man in the entire Navy. Now, this title is meaningless. Above the sky, the yellow flash raised its finger slightly. The next moment, a dazzling light instantly shot out from behind the yellow flash's finger. The whole sky became even brighter. Then, a terrifying yellow light blasted towards the Navy headquarters and a nearby small island with a radius of 1 square kilometer. Speed, as fast as lightning, explode in an instant. Rumble. Accompanied by a sound that resounded throughout the heavens and earth, terrifying energy, after the explosion, began to surge in all directions. The poor island was actually shattered to pieces by this terrifying force. A large number of rocks, after being shattered, sank directly into the sea. Chapter 47, Overlord Color Seraph. Continue to siphon funds. The entire island, bombed by the yellow flash, disappeared directly into the sea. Seeing this scene, Zhang Guo looked delighted. Ha ha ha. As expected of a Seraph of the Admiral level. In terms of speed and aggressiveness, he is not inferior to Kizaru at all. Sengoku said excitedly. Garp, Vice Admiral, also had a smile on his face, worthy of being Xia Yu. They have really developed a robot with combat power comparable to that of an admiral. Seraphim, next, show your domineering power and physical ability. Xia Yu continued. After seeing the yellow flash being so powerful, Garp also felt like playing with it. Speaking of haki and taijutsu, why don't you let me try it? Garp rubbed his hands, looking eager to try. When they heard that Garp was going to take action, the Navy and Jack and others were all shocked. That's the Navy's hero Garp. The Navy's strongest combat power. His strength is probably above that of a general. Garp, you better take it easy. Don't destroy the yellow flash. Otherwise I'll fire you, believe it or not. Upon hearing that Garp was going to take action, Sengoku looked nervous. Although I know that these robots have the ability to recover automatically, I still feel a little sad. Don't worry, I have my own sense of discretion. After he finished speaking, a terrifying fighting spirit swept in all directions. Without any hesitation, Garp, with his domineering color wrapped around him, rushed towards the yellow flash. Take this punch from me. Garp roared and kicked the ground with his legs. Under the powerful reaction force, Garp's whole body shot towards the sky at a high speed like a cannon. The fist in his hand, with domineering and armed colors fully activated, is extremely terrifying. Garp, you bastard. Is this what you mean by knowing your limits? Zhang Guo was completely crazy. This bastard Garp, doesn't he know what holding back means? You used up all your strength, your domineering aura, and your domineering power? Yellow Flash, please don't let anything happen to you. After all, it cost a lot of money to research you. It's impossible for me to say that I don't feel heartbroken. Yellow Flash, bring out all your strength. Xia Yu also hurriedly spoke. After all, the opponent this time is Garp, whose strength is probably above the 3 admirals. Xia Yu didn't dare to be careless. After hearing Xia Yu's order, the yellow flash, which looked like Kizaru in the sky, attacked swiftly. The flashes gathered on the fist, emitting a light full of fighting spirit. The pitch-black armor of armed color also spread over the entire fist. Then a terrifying, invisible force wrapped around the fist. Jan Guo, the 3 generals and others who understood this move all changed their expressions. This is domineering haki entanglement. The yellow flash can actually be entangled with Conqueror's haki. Jan Guo, Lieutenant General Tsuru, and the 3 generals said in shock. After all, the Seraphs of the 7 Warlords of the Sea don't have Conqueror's haki, so they implicitly assume that even the Admiral-level Seraphs don't have Conqueror's haki. As a result, the yellow flash directly displayed the domineering color entanglement, which really surprised and delighted them. Ace and Drought Jack even widened their eyes to the most exaggerated degree. Overlord Color Robot actually possesses the power of Conqueror's haki. Exclamation, what an exaggeration! Exclamation, at this moment, they felt that the worldview they had built up before was shattered to pieces. Boom, the 2 men's fists clashed quickly. Exclamation, all right legends, that's it for today. If you're ready for the next chapter, smash that like button and flood the comments right now. Remember, we've got 3 days to prove this story needs to continue. Subscribe so you don't miss the drop, and I'll meet you in the next audiobook.